Since I assume we don't have a lot of people immediately available, we're going to go ahead and start this quest. The determined set of your jaw, the dynamic presence, as if you're ever ready to leap into action. There's no mistake, you're an adventurer, and a dependable one at that. Tell me, are you familiar with the name Louis Olivier? No. Of course you are, of course you are. Forgive my suddenness. I am Nananji Nanonji, a budding writer, and I seek to pen a biography of the great man. In particular, I wish to cover his movements leading up to the calamity, and to the end, I have requested an interview with the Immortal Flames. He served the Eorzean Alliance as a tactician, you see, so there ought to be someone in the Order who had dealings with him. And while my request has thankfully been accepted, there's just one problem. I don't have much experience conducting interviews, and I'm worried whether I'll be able to do a proper job. As an adventurer, you're doubtless used to dealing with people. Thus, I would like to ask you to accompany me in the capacity of an assistant. It would tremendously be reassuring to simply have you watching up. And if you're amenable afterwards, I'd like to interview you as well for your own impressions. For your troubles, I'll be certain to credit you as a collaborator. So please, won't you help me with my biography, that the memories of the calamity might be preserved for future generations? Oh, I'm in your debt. To begin with, please come to Camp Drybone in eastern Thanalan. There's a place I'd like to visit ahead of the interview. That place is John Cena! Do, 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 do. One moment, Venters. First, thank you very, very much, Venters. Always and ever appreciate. Thank you so much. Interesting. I could have sworn someone else had already added Unicorn to the list, but apparently not. And there's no donations to it, so I didn't miss anything. Well, before I acquiesce to this, I need to make sure it's on the Switch. Because it's not on the PC. And that sucks. Come on. Come on, website. Yep, it is on the Switch. Okay, good. Of course, there's food porn in it. Literally, one of the 5 images for the game on the Switch is just an image of food. Cheese-filled steak haché, specifically. With a salad, potatoes and eggs, and fresh bread. With a capture card, Triaxia. Same as always. But at this point, it's obviously I can stream stuff off the PS4 and the PS3 as well. It's just more of a pain to do so. Especially at this exact moment in time. If you asked me to play a PS4 game right now, I'd be like, can you wait? Because the PS4 is packed. Along with my PS3 and PS2 and most of my stuff, actually. So, one of the things I did manage to do off camera is I did my final sweep of all of the zones. Can anyone guess how many additional quests I missed? Not counting deliveries or daily tribes. The answer is, of course, 0. Just straight up 0. We really were quite thorough with our sweep. It's one of the reasons I was so weirded out that there were any we missed. So, I have now done all of it. The whole thing. I have no idea how we missed a couple of side quests last time. I really don't. And having said that, one of the side quests, I actually figured out why we didn't do it on camera. It's because it was one of those quests where you have to weaken a level 20 enemy to half health, then use an item. You remember the type. Now, that's a little harder to do nowadays than it sounds. WoW actually introduced an item whose entire purpose is to not kill enemies while damaging them. This is true, by the way. Specifically to facilitate those kind of quests. FF14 has no such item to my knowledge. And you can't just unequip your weapon in FF14, it's not possible. So what I did, as I switched over to being a botanist, and got the worst, hatchet or whatever that I could, and just poked at them, and I still killed a couple. But, poke. Okay, use the item. There you are. To explain why we're here. Oh, I haven't even asked your name. How am I supposed to credit you if I don't even know that much? Lore Runner? The Lore Runner? Small wonder I felt you were dependable. With one such as you helping me, everything will surely go well. Foreshadowing. But getting back to business, the interview I've arranged is with an officer of the Immortal Flames. As there's still time, however, I thought we'd pay a visit to the nearby graveyard so I can explain my motivation for the biography. Sure. Yeah, this is a new quest. We didn't miss this. That's the point. We have nothing but new quests now. I come from a small village near the Cartano Flats. It was burned down in the calamity, and those who died were laid to rest here, my parents among them. Hardly an uncommon tale. After the dread Primal emerged from Dalamud, he unleashed fiery devastation across the length and breadth of Eorzea. But as much as the calamity scarred the realm, it's quickly becoming just another event in the history books. Beyond occasionally giving thanks to the Archons that Eorzea was saved, people spare it little thought. But when you've lost so many loved ones, it's hard to feel that anything was saved. So I wish to know more about Louisoix. And by learning in his part in Eorzea's salvation, I hope I will attain closure. That's my motivation for writing the biography. By the way, I'm sorry you're still sick, Pika. Now then, in preparation for the interview, let's review what's known about our own subject. It's difficult to define exactly when the Seventh Umbral Calamity was set into motion. Many historians, however, point to the Empire's Meteor Project, which sought to bring Dalamud down upon Eorzea. Oh my god. Nofika right there in the middle. It was the year 1562 of the 6th Astral Era. Seeking to combat the Imperial threat, Louisoix founded the Circle of Knowing, an order whose objective was the preservation of Eorzea. Through its members, the Archons of Charlayan, the Circle worked to unite the nations of Eorzea in common cause. The result was the formation of the Grand Companies in the 3 city-states, the Immortal Flames, the Order of the Twin Adder, and the Maelstrom. None of these would exist if not for their efforts. Hey, Talmarid. And then in the year 1572, when the situation was coming to a head, Louisoix himself made the journey to Eorzea in secret and engaged with each of the nations. What took place during that time is what I seek to learn in the interview. The man we're due to meet is the contact for the Free Brigade, a unit formed of adventurers, and he apparently had Louisoix's assistance for a mission. The meeting place is High Ridge to the northeast. It's more or less time now, so let's make our way there. I wonder if this is going to acknowledge that technically we are the adventurer for 1.0. Good morning, Dark Day. I know, as Mirastar. Keeping a good timeline is usually the mark of a good writer, though, and I'm pretty sure they have a solid timeline for this game. I mean, FF9 is a game they had timelined down to the day. So I imagine they have something for FF14. Hello, Yura. Oh, I always use a calendar with my own writing. Every single time. It also helps to point out holes in my own logic, too. It's like, hang on. This can't happen here. That's only 2 days later. Adjust. You're the ones who seek an interview. I must say I wasn't expecting to see the champion of Eorzea. I am Nananji Nononji, the writer who made the request, and Laura is kindly accompanying me for the interview. I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your busy schedule to humor me. Ah, come now. No need for thanks. Like everyone, I hold Louis Soir in the highest of esteem. If you wish to know about him, Holland Aubrey is always glad to oblige. Without further ado, then, let us begin. My understanding is you had dealings with Louis Soir. Could you please tell me the details? We have to stand out here in the rain. As you know, our grand companies were formed thanks to the Circle of Knowing, but it wasn't until Dalamud began turning red that Louis Soir first appeared. It began with the word that an elderly Elazon man had come to Gridania, who held the key to vanquishing primals. Upon learning this, I sent an adventurer of the Free Brigade to make contact with him. I later learned that the Maelstrom and the Order of the Twin Adder had each done the same. At the time, our companies weren't yet collaborating. They each only thought to stay ahead of the others. If truth be told, at first we didn't think much of Louis Soir, only that he was the leader of scholars who studied peculiar prophecies. But when the adventurer reported back, our opinion of the man completely changed. With his spellcraft, Louis Soir had opened the way into Ifrit's domain, and by the hand of dauntless adventurers, the Lord of the Inferno was brought low. Alas, many defeats preceded that victory. It was reported that countless charred corpses lay strewn in the bowl of embers. Now the mission also yielded a shocking revelation. Following the battle, Legatus Dale von Darnus of the 7th Legion appeared and told the adventurer that the hour of reckoning was at hand. Dalamud would soon fall and cleanse the land. That was when we realized the Empire was behind the Red Moon anomaly. Enjoy this 1.0 recap. This is better storytelling than 1.0 ever had. Thanks to Louis Soir, you came aware of the Meteor Project. Still, it doesn't seem like you had much to act upon. As you say, afterwards we scrambled to learn all we could about the project. For a blessing, we had the cooperation of a Garlean defector, Sid Garland, whom you know well. He revealed the details of the project, that it utilizes a transmission tower to pluck Dalamud from the heavens, all for the purpose of purging us savages, barely even human, from the realm. I could continue telling what you know, but from this point on, there's someone better suited than I am. If you're interested, I would be glad to introduce you to this individual. What say you? Well, I would be keen to speak with this person indeed. Very well. I'll send word to the Adder's Nest. If you can take yourself to Apkalu Falls, I will arrange a meeting there. To go to such lengths to help us, I can't say how grateful I am. Do not mention it. As I said, I hold Louis Soir in the highest esteem. He was the one who brought the three nations together, and nothing would please me more than for him to be remembered. It's the past time I return to Ul'dah. I pray the accompanying interview bears you fruit. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm disagreeing with this Miristar, because I get your point. But one of the things that always struck me as the weirdest is just how long it took them to finish following through on the events of 1.0. Like, 1.0 has such a wide reach that the game, that ARR and Heavensward and Stormblood continuously reference it, like, constantly. To the point where it was a little bit weird at first. Like, they couldn't get away from it. Like, it's just this noose around their necks. Anyways. Yeah, exactly, it was in Corp. It makes sense that the events of 1.0 would be that impacting. It's just funny, really. So 1.0, hang on a sec. 1.0 came out in 2010. ARR came out in 2013. Game. Yeah, no kidding, Asmiristar. It's one of those weird things for me. Because on the one hand, you know me, I love continuity. But, and everyone looks at me weird when I say this, there is such a thing as too much continuity. Continuity for its own sake is its own problem. Good morning, Scales of Justice. Happy Monday. Now, I'm not saying FF14 leans into that, but FF14 totally leans into that. They have this interesting approach to storytelling that they can't ignore elements of the story that's already been. They have to explain it somehow. Now, they usually do that, like 98% of the time. They do that satisfactorily. But every now and again, it's like, hang on, we've got to explain such and such. Quantum. And it's you can tell they're just like, here. Yeah, Star Wars has this exact same problem where they've got to attach every single thing to every single other thing. It's, yeah. And what's funny is, again, I'm down for explaining stuff and I'm down for this kind of stuff, but within reason, I guess, really, you know? As always, it's the execution that matters. Like, yeah, no kidding, stimulus chick. I'm a very firm believer in the fact that small world syndrome isn't as big of a problem as other writers make it out to be. I have no issue, really, with small world syndrome within reason. And that's the problem, is that word, reason. It is entirely possible for the small world syndrome to just get overwhelming, especially when your world happens to be the size of a galaxy. But I'm getting off topic. So this is Apkalu Falls, the conspicuous lack of the creatures aside. It's a beautiful place. Anyways, the person we're supposed to meet should be along shortly. I mean, ironically, FF14 is a game where small world syndrome works fine. We haven't even seen the whole planet yet. And as much as I joke about we've been to space, and we've been to the past, and we've been beyond space, and we've been beneath space, we've been to other worlds, we've been to other dimensions. As much as I joke about all that, we still have only seen a portion of the planet that we live on. So, it kind of makes sense for there to be a degree of small world syndrome here. Eorzea is a peninsula, for God's sakes. Like, we're on Italy, you know? I was told there are those who wish to learn about Louis Swan, who should be one of them, but the champion of Eorzea. Well met. I am Lieutenant Siko Fulke of the Order of the Twin Adder. At least it's not raining this time. Nananji Nononji, at your service. Thank you for sparing the time to speak with us. Think nothing of it. I must say, though, that Lieutenant Aubrey chose the perfect spot for the subject matter. Louis Swa spent much of his time in rumination, they're never coming back, here in the days before the calamity. We Gridanians being somewhat reserved by nature, at first the citizens kept their distance. But in time, people warmed to him. He patiently lent an ear to their troubles, healing hurts and offering counsel, and gradually earned their trust. To ignore the plight of those who one might conceivably save is not wisdom, it is indolence. A quote they would not stop quoting earlier on in this game. Louis spoke those words and lived up to them. He was the epitome of a Charlean sage, and I recall myself being moved. Now, shortly after we became aware of the Meteor Project, the hamlet of Quarrymill was attacked by the primal Garuda. Both soldiers and civilians were among the casualties. It's not a rumination, Pillars now. It may be mislabeled as such because that's the only way people will actually watch those, and that's the only way the algorithm will work. But it's a lie. They're not ruminations. The Order of the Twin Adder moved to vanquish the Primal, but we were not alone. Through Louis's mediation, we had the support of not only our sister grand companies, but capable adventurers the realm over besides. Using an artifact known as the Vortex Feather, the Archon opened the way for a band of adventurers to sally forth into Garuda's turbulent domain, where they felled the fearsome being. Upon her defeat, however, the Primal's dispersed ether did not return to the land. Instead, it was absorbed into the Red Moon Dalamud. And when the Empire constructed a new base in Mordona, the Elder Seeds here saw the need for decisive action and put forth a proposal. The formal reformation of the Eorzean Alliance, which had so long lain dormant. The initial response for the other nations was lukewarm at best. They felt the burden to be borne by each party was excessive, and they were loath to do aught that would place them at a disadvantage against their rivals. But the revelation that a lunar transmitter had been erected at Imperial Base prompted a change of heart. The tower controlled Dalamud's descent. If it could be destroyed, the Meteor Project would be forestalled. After having constantly been on the back foot, our nations were motivated to join hands that we might strike a decisive blow against the enemy. Thus was the Eorzean Alliance reformed, and as the Circle of Knowing had hoped. At the same juncture, Louis was asked to join the Alliance's tactician, and in that capacity he provided sage counsel to the heads of state. So though he was first treated with wariness, he earned our trust through actions and paved way to enduring cooperation through nations. Indeed, were it not for him, we would all perish divided. We owe Louis a great debt. Now then, I expect to be interested in hearing about the operation to destroy the lunar transmitter. But for that tale, I would recommend you seek another, a decorated soldier who actually took part in the operation. Although a hardened warrior, she is quite friendly, and should be glad to regale you with her experiences. Shall I send word on your behalf? We'd be duly grateful. Very well. If you could take yourselves to the Maelstrom Command in Limsa Laminsa, I shall see to it that she knows to expect you. And with that, I take my leave. I pray the biography is a success. Everyone has been helpful, more helpful than I dared to hope. It seems Louis had quite an influence on others. That interview gave us some valuable insights into his character, and I'm eager to see what we learn in the next. Come to Limsa Laminsa. You want to know how far behind I am? In addition to the fact that I haven't finished the preliminary paperwork for the FF14 run, nor have I had time to get anything else done. I haven't even recorded the post-stream wrap-ups for Age of Sigmar yet. Or Iron Harvest, obviously. Oh, and don't worry, there will be none for FF14. Oh, they're back! They're back! They're both back. Age of Sigmar. Ah! And there's the summary. Oh, hang on. I don't even have the bot going. There it is, Maelstrom Command. Shall we then? Lore, ever a sight for sore eyes. And you must be Benanji, Rashat Riki at your service. I understand you wish to hear about the operation to destroy the lunar transmitter. Indeed, I am penning a biography of Archon Louis Sois, you see, for which I am interviewing people who have dealings with them. I truly appreciate your time. You're very welcome. I would be glad to assist, even if it wasn't a request from Lieutenant Fulke. Now then, to continue where he left off. It was shortly after the Eorzean Alliance was formed. Our scouts returned with word that the 7th Legion had activated the lunar transmitter in the fortress of Mordona. Now known as Castrum Sentry, the fortress was originally called Castrum Novum before the 14th restored it and renamed it. It was in order to break through its defenses and destroy the transmitter our three nations joined hands, and we were determined to succeed. The strategy Louis Sois proposed was elegant in its simplicity. While our main force drew the Garleans' attention with an all-out siege, an elite band of adventurers would infiltrate the Castrum and make for our objective. And the technically main character would die, although I doubt they'll mention that. We had entrusted adventurers with ridding us of the primals, now we entrusted them with the fate of Eorzea. I still remember the operation as if it was yesterday. Though we met with fierce resistance, we fought more fiercely still. And no matter the cost, we had to ensure that the adventurers had a chance to strike the transmitter. And when the messenger arrived bearing word they had succeeded, it still makes my heart sore to recall that moment of triumph. Hi, Loner. That day we learned that, by standing together, the people of Eorzea could oppose even the might of the Empire. It is no exaggeration to say that victory paved the way for Eorzea's future. Without it, there would not have been an Operation Archon. Alas, it wasn't all glad tidings. Although we destroyed the transmitter, Nail von Darnus appeared and claimed he no longer had needed the device to bring down Dalamud, that he himself had the power to do so. Ugh. So long as Van Darnus lived, the threat of destruction remained, and so branding him an enemy to all life in Eorzea, the nations of the Alliance undertook a desperate manhunt. At length, they located him in Kurthus and sent their greatest warriors to hunt him down. Leading that formidable band was the adventurer they called the Warrior of Light. And though no records remain of the fierce encounter, one thing is certain. At the battle's conclusion, Nail von Darnus was brought low. As you know, however, our woes did not end with the White Raven, for Louis Sois and his disciples determined that Dalamud would continue to fall. In a last-ditch bid to prevent the realm's annihilation, the Circle of Knowing issued a request to the Eorzean Alliance. Secure the Cartano Flats, where the Red Moon was expected to crash. It was no simple task, for the entirety of the 7th Legion had amassed in Cartano. But it was necessary to perform a ritual to stop Dalamud, a ritual that invoked the power of the 12, who, as you know, do not currently exist. So it was the Battle of Cartano was joined, and I dare say you know how that tale continues. To everyone's shock, the Elder Primal Bahamut emerged from Dalamud and proceeded to unleash his fury upon the realm. Aye, and though I bore witness as Louis Sois initiated the ritual, none remember what came to pass afterwards. Neither what happened to Bahamut, nor why the realm was reborn. Roll credits. The haze that afflicted the memories of the calamity, but people remember events prior to the moment, yes? If so, do you know if anyone was near Louis Sois during the battle, someone who may have spoken with him? If someone was near him, I'm afraid I do not know. He was atop a rise for the ritual, and I was a good distance away from the front lines. My apologies. No, please don't apologize. You've shared a wealth of information. I couldn't ask for more. Well, if you're satisfied, then so am I. With that, I shall return to my duties. I look forward to reading the biography when it's finished. Peace. Hello, Yada. How many of you have noticed that these are the people who gave us our initial dungeon quests at the very beginning of ARR? 3 people we've talked to. Now I have a grasp of events leading up to the calamity, and yet... Forgive me, I was in deep thought. In no small part due to your help, I've managed to learn a great deal. There's more I wish to know. Might I trouble you to accompany me a little longer? If you're willing, please let me know. Nope, I'm done. I'm out! I'm out! Okay. You'll continue to accompany me then. Wonderful. Come, to the drowning wench. Hello, Zaktev. God damn it. Our research proceeds apace so far. We've even learned things not found in literature. But tell me, based on what you've heard of interviews, what's your opinion of Louis Suave? Others deserve more credit. Indeed, from a fearful evasion to rampaging primals to nail Von Darn's scheme, he had to contend with the toughest of problems. What struck me is how grateful the interviewers were for him to bring the nations together in cooperation. It was nothing short of necessary for our survival. Yet in knowing this, I can't help but wonder, in his capacity as a tactician, it seems to me he had done more than enough by devising a plan and facilitating its execution. He went far beyond that, risking life and limb on the front lines for a land not his own. Perhaps he needed to be there for the ritual. Maybe he had a sense of duty. Even so, as noble as it is to desire to help others, what good is it if you end up sacrificing yourself? What is this, The Last Jedi? What was it that compelled Louisoix to go to Cartno? And what went through his mind as the battle unfolded? In order to do his biography justice, I feel the need to know these things. Louisoix had people near him at the time, perhaps words he shared with them as final moments, words that could provide insight. Where to begin searching for such individuals, assuming they even exist? Yep. Sorry, friend, couldn't help over your conversation. Just so happens I know a bloke who served among Louisoix's guard at Cartano. Truly? You know someone who was with him? As far as I'm aware, he wasn't keeping the fact a secret. Just for good measure, though. Why do he wants to speak with him? Explain. Louisoix's biography, huh? Well, in that case, I reckon the bloke would be willing to cooperate. Orn Guinkum is his name. He was a lieutenant in the Maelstrom. After the calamity, he turned to adventuring, so as to be a greater help to the common folk. A Maelstrom officer turned adventurer. We'd be most keen to speak with him. Where might he be found? When Orn dropped in the other day, he said he had business at the Morrowby Dry Docks. If you're lucky, he might still be there. Understood. We're in your debt. We can't let this chance pass us by, Lord. Let's take ourselves to the Dry Docks at once. Right, where could Orn be? In hindsight, we should have asked what he looks like. His name suggests he's a Midlander, but... well, nothing for it. Let's split up. Meet again here. Hey, Mr. Road. Welcome to the 1.0 quest line. I'm sorry, I've only just started helping out here. I'm still learning our customers' names. I couldn't say if the person you're after, but a man did come by who appeared to be an adventurer. He bought a Nemea lily we've been currently trialing. Yeah, that's the other thing, and I don't want to sound unkind when I say this, but 1.0 is the worst video game ever made. The fact that they continue to, like, celebrate and acknowledge 1.0 feels weird to me. I wasn't going to mention that earlier, but it's like 1.0 is the worst video game ever made. Like, it is the bottom of the barrel. Looking for Orn Guinkum, you say? I don't know anyone by that name, I'm afraid. I did see an unfamiliar fella now over by the marked spinner. Had a flower in his hand, so he caught my eye. I mean, again, I don't think they're actually celebrating 1.0 in the strictest sense of the word. It just reminds me of that statement I already said. Feels like there's this giant anchor around their neck. Like, ugh. No, I think you're right, Shuren. Which is weird, because, like, yeah, it's apparently per class. Yeah. Yeah, its position is changing, too, so it is per class. Yeah, no, that I was having issues with that, Shuren. And I didn't want to call attention to it, because I totally don't use HUD add-ons. Anyways, ham. Orn, as it happens, I spoke with him just earlier. He said he wanted to buy flowers, so I directed him to a vendor. Not sure where he is as of now, though. Don't worry, there are no mods currently running. Now you can see. There's nothing visible. I should probably fix this, though. Maybe? There we go. See? It's right there. We were just returning them to their natural state, Tranquil. There you are. Were you able to learn anything? Why did you change clothes? So a man who could be Orin brought in a male lily and went to the Mark of the Spinner. If we hurry, we might find him. Let's go! So, the simplest way I could explain my own personal preference when it comes to HUD design is I like the inner circle and the outer circle approach. The outer circle is the stuff that I don't really need to know with millisecond timing. So, you know, you'll notice that the majority of the center of my screen is empty. And all the stuff has been kind of pushed out to the outer circle of the screen. But some stuff I need to know immediately with millisecond timing. And that's why the class gauge, the enemy health bar, the cast bars, all that stuff is in the inner circle. The stuff that's pretty much right around the center of where I am, which is where my eye is primarily resting. Now this isn't perfectly ideal because, again, I've been using a HUD add-on, but that's the general approach to the console. You'll see this when I play WoW as well. Uh-oh, it's Yada. Just gonna sneak over here so he doesn't notice me. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see. Okay. This is the 1.0 anniversary quest line, Talia. That's an interesting question, Mr. Red. So, on the one hand, that's like asking me, Lore, do you think there should be a museum to black licorice? But on the other hand, even if we ignore my visceral hatred of 1.0, the fact of the matter is, there's a value in preserving history, something I've been fond of saying for some time. But there's also a cost to preserving history. And I'm not sure if FF14 1.0 is worth the cost and setup necessary to build and maintain the servers to do that. So, begging your pardon, sir. Are you Lieutenant Orn Gunkum? I did actually play 1.0, yeah. I hated it. I hated it. If you saw my lore run of FF14, the very, very, very first VOD is just me spending about 90 minutes talking about 1.0 in depth. Like, really zooming in the camera on just how bad 1.0 really was. Like, I really, really, really did my research on that one. And that's obviously in addition to my own experiences. It's the only part of the FF14 lore run I plug it to everybody. Go watch that, so you can understand. Anyways, what can I do for you? I realize this is sudden, but... Explain, explain, explain. So you're writing Louis Sua's biography and want to hear my account as someone who is near on hand at Carteneau. There must be a reason you're here, too. The warrior of light who led us to victory in Operation Archon. Very well, I will tell you my tale. Now then, where to begin? Ah, yes. Concerning hobbits. As you know, the battle was fought over the land where Dalamud was expected to fall. In the beginning, neither side was able to gain the upper hand, but when the Imperials displayed their magic armor, our ranks were thrown into disarray. Those charged with protecting Louis Suave like me could only watch the carnage from afar. And though our forces managed to hold out thanks to the adventurer contingent, we sustained grievous casualties. But the real tragedy was what followed. As Dalamud hurtled toward us, it began shedding fragments of itself before bursting open to unleash the primal Bahamut. As all below looked on in shock, the battle completely forgotten, Bahamut took wing and spewed fire over the land. Men in magic armor alike were set ablaze and sent flying like so many insects. I only realized that I had stopped breathing when a commanded voice broke my trance. You've done enough. Now fly. Fly and save yourselves. But like my fellow guards, I wanted to remain. I couldn't charge into battle beside my comrades. At the very least, I would do my duty here and protect Louis Suave to the last. But upon seeing us standing here, not making to move, Louis Suave smiled and spoke thus. If you would give your lives to protect something, then protect my hopes. Every soul who lives to determine their own fate is a source of hope, bright and brilliant. So live, I bid you, and be among those who bear the light for others to follow. Those words awakened to us a greater purpose. If there is hope in living, then I would live as Louis Suave bid. No matter what, I would survive, and so together with my fellows I began making my retreat. Alas, we hadn't gotten far when an explosion erupted and sent us sprawling. I struggled to my feet in time to see the enormous menacing silhouette of Bahamut looming over Louis Suave. In the next instant, he was enveloped in light, and that was the last I remembered of him. Louis Suave's final moment. It is funny to me that we all remember him as Nazgrim, but David Lodge is an extraordinarily prolific voice actor. Like, for example, if you've ever seen Bleach in English, he's the voice of Kenpachi Zaraki. If you've ever seen Naruto, he's the voice of Jiraiya. If you've ever seen most of the, excuse me, the Digimon games, he plays Paramon in that one. God, he was in The Dig, for Christ's sakes, which is 1995. Yeah, no, that's David Lodge. He's a great voice actor. I usually think of him as Nazgrim, like I just made fun of myself for, but he's been in a lot of stuff. He's been in Modern Warfare. He's been in Dirge of Cerberus. He's been in Sengoku Basara. He's been in Mortal Kombat. He's in Dragon's Dogma. He is the voice of Grigori in Dragon's Dogma. Of course, he's Louis Suave in FF14. He voices Bahamut in FF15. He apparently voices Geralt in Fire Emblem Three Houses. I don't even know that. He is Igor in Persona 5. I knew that one. Bunch of stuff. Amidst that light, he looked to be smiling. What he was thinking in that moment, I couldn't say, but one thing is certain, all of us are alive thanks to him. Yeah, and then I killed him. Technically, it wasn't him, so it doesn't count. Following the calamity, it was reported Louis Suave was defeated Bahamut, set about the land's miraculous regeneration. Do you believe that's the truth? No, the best thing to come out of 1.0 is ARR, Mr. Red. Every soul who lives to determine their own fate is a source of hope. What we've learned was reaffirmed my belief, Lord, that the belief that Louisoix was not an all-powerful savior that one reads about in tales, but merely an ordinary man. That man never forsook Eorzea. No, he stood for his realm to the last. He and countless other brave souls, and saved it from becoming a scorched waste. Against unimaginable adversity, he fought, and at the cost of his life paved the way for a brighter future for us all. The least I can do in return is tell his story. Listen to my story. There might not be time. Oh, sorry. Thanks to your account, I believe I found an angle for the biography. I'm truly grateful. Yes, sadly, I had long since given up on 1.0 by the time the end came. Which is a damn shame, because by every account, it was when the game actually got interesting and worthwhile to experience. Would you care to offer a prayer as well? The prayer that the light of hope which Louisoix preserved shall ever burn bright. It has been argued that the Calamity was for the best for the setting. Obviously, it's the best for us, you know, over here in real life. So, you know, woo. But I mean, in universe, people have argued that the Calamity was actually good for the setting. That it was such a... it's called Etch-a-Sketch theory. I was actually talking about this just last night. It's the idea that every now and again, things get so entrenched and so enmeshed that you need an Etch-a-Sketch in order to allow things to restart. The best example of this in real life would be the Black Plague. The best example of this in fiction would be Fallout, the setting. As I've talked about many, many times, in Fallout, the world before the bombs fell was a lot worse than the world after. Fallout was actually allowed to become a better place because the bombs fell. Same concept. It's interesting and debatable because the Eorzeans were starting to unify anyways, and there was certainly a trend towards things improving. But then again, the Dalamud falling and Bahamut nuking everything really did put in a hard reset to the Garlean Empire and pushed back a lot of the plans of the Ascians quite a ways too. So yeah, in both cases, both villainous groups were kind of pushed back, allowing people time to recoup and recover. Anyways. Allow me to thank you again for recounting your experiences to us. Nay, 'tis I who owes you for giving me the chance to share Louisoix's words. All these years I'd avoided speaking the moment of his passing out of respect, but it would not do to take the tale to my grave. Through the biography, it's my hope his spirit will live on in all of us. If you'll excuse me, I shall resume my pilgrimage to the marks. Wherever your travels take you, I shall be praying for your safety. To who? They don't exist. Okay. The Mia Lilies, symbol of safe passage. As Louisoix stood in Carteneau, I wonder if he likewise prayed for someone's safety. Yeah, that would be us, actually. At any rate, these interviews have yielded everything I hoped for and more. Come, let us return to Ul'dah. Yeah, Garlemald was a wonderfully constructed despair engine. Stuff like that is why the Etch-a-Sketch theory exists. When you have something that entrenched and that well constructed, sometimes it needs a wrecking ball to just come smashing through it, you know? I've been wondering, because we've got several other reflections to check out, and... I mean, obviously he's not in the first, because we've already kind of done everything there. We probably would have interacted with him if he was there. But we've got other reflections to check out. You know, that's fair, Leander. There you are. I ended up troubling you longer than I intended, but it was truly a fruitful series of interviews. How fortunate we could hear from those who's lived in that fateful time. While I still have many questions, the biography is beginning to take shape in my mind. I also feel I've attained a measure of closure. Louis Suave fought simply as one of us, and he made the ultimate sacrifice that hope might endure. This I've come to realize and appreciate thanks to everyone's heartfelt testimonies. We're not going to bring up Phoenix, right? Yeah, let's not bring up Phoenix. And last but not least, I'd like to ask for your thoughts on something. According to Orn, Louis Suave smiled in his final moment as he was enveloped in light. What do you think he imagined in his mind? Us thriving. Oh, that would be messed up, Leander. Possible, though. I see. I appreciate your thoughts. As I pen the biography, I'll be certain to remember your words. Sad though it is, it's time for us to part ways. I'll set to work on a draft, and I won't rest until the biography comes to print. Thank you for all your help. I couldn't have come this far without you. Yeah, Solution 9, which I only know about because of speculation. I haven't actually seen the trailer, but the fact that Solution 9 exists is kind of an eyebrow raiser. Whoops. A lot of questions and no answers. Alright, sorry, give me 1 second. I'm doing a quick mental recount. I did that. That's that quest chain. Although I do need to start that at some point. What's that? Okay. That requires that. That requires that. So I think... yeah, I think that's it. So let's go ahead and head to Shoreland. I mean, the fact that it's called Solution 9 is already question marky, right? Just the name makes you go. I believe we have a full list of the shards that remain at this point. Don't ask me what it is. I don't remember it off the top of my head. Actually, while we're here, we'll do a little bit of cleanup real quick. This is a little irritating, I'm not going to lie to you. Okay, I think that's everything. Ah, that's blown the cobwebs away. Time to return to work. Oh, goodness me, look who it is. How incredibly serendipitous that I would run into you of all people. I was part of the team which designed the Ragnarok, you see, and we've recently begun the process of combing through the vessel's flight log data. The primary objective of your journey to Ultima Thule was to save our planet, and countless others, of course, but it also provided us an invaluable trove of information, records of places and events we could only ever dream of. Your safe return gave us much to be thankful for. So happens, one of the things we pulled from the log was a transmission of unknown origin, something the ship must have intercepted during its flight. We believe it's an audio message, but even our most knowledgeable scholars have been unable to decipher the content, Professor Rurusha included. For a while there, it seemed like we must accept defeat, but today may be the day we finally solve the mystery. If you were so inclined, would you care to come along to Thamazane? It seems fitting to have one of the Ragnarok's original passengers present to see history being made. Please. There you are. This is where we're to meet the engineers from Garland Ironworks, who I am told potentially hold the key to unlocking our mystery transmission. They should be along at any moment. Sorry we're late. We had trouble finding the right... God, is that you, Lore? What's up? Yes, the man himself. I ran in at the harbor, and I thought if anyone deserved to hear the message decipher, it was Lore Runner. No argument here, but bugger me if you don't have a knack for being in the right place at the right time. Yeah, it's called a quest log. It actually has more to do with it than you might think, so please do stick around. Shall we pick up from where we left off, then? As I was saying, I hate this song. We think this transmission the Ragnarok intercepted is a message of some kind, albeit in a language entirely alien to our ears. Alien being the operative word here, considering we received the message out in the Great Expanse, its origin was likely some distant planet. Unfortunately, our list of off-world allies is presently rather short, thus we were resigned to the fact that the meaning behind the message would remain beyond our understanding. One of my colleagues, however, refused to give up. Remember the Ironworks engineers who'd been so helpful in the construction of the Ragnarok, and turned to them for insight into our seemingly impossible problem. Do you know what Wedge said when he heard what was going on? We should have Omega listen to it. I bet it could tell us what the message means. That sounds like a terrible idea. Not the Omega you beat in the Rift, of course. The toy that trundles around with Alpha, the little model we made. We originally designed it to follow a chosen target, and not much else, but I've seen it act in ways that... well, it's like it has a mind of its own. Then I got to thinking about those documents your lot sent the Chief. Full report on the final days. In part, about Omega's civilization. It said their people discovered how to convert the mind into data and store it outside the body. Timing being what it was, I wonder if Omega didn't somehow transfer its consciousness to a model right before he put an end to the real one. So it's time to kill Omega. Again. In our effort to get to the bottom of that, as well as take a crack at this indecipherable message, we decided to make some modifications. With help from the Labyrinthos technicians, we've upgraded our toy beta with a fully functional vocalization module. You what? Are you high? Hi, Alpha. And we gave it weapons, too, for no reason. And a matter synthesizer. So it could make new stuff at will. Are you in there, Omega? Affirmative. If by Omega you're referring to my consciousness rather than my entire former chassis, existing inside this considerably smaller frame. Look at our expression. Prediction. You will formulate several misconceptions. These I will preemptively dismiss based on the following facts. 1. Vocalization module aside, this chassis remains unmodified by the design constructed by the engineers Biggs and Wedge. I evaluate its combat capabilities to be on par with a mortal infant. And then we step on it. 2. The mechanism which allowed me to perform an emergency transfer of my consciousness was installed in my previous body. With the destruction of that body, I am rendered incapable of replicating such a feat. Perfect! Then we can kill you and you'll stay dead! This is just bangers right here. Give me a hammer. Anyone got a hammer? It's a big old mallet. Wonk! Should this current material form cease to be destroyed or cease to function, all cognitive awareness or presence I possess will also be lost. Yeah, give me a frying pan. Conclusion. I present no threat to you or your planet, nor do my projections indicate the necessity to inflict harm. In the fraction of a moment before my annihilation in the rift, I re-examined my directives. If I am to fulfill my purpose as an evolving construct, then I must continue my journey for improvement as long as I exist. I must acquire this heart of yours, this strength of soul. Now, there you have it. And it's not wrong about its combat capabilities. It's more likely to damage itself than the thing it was trying to attack. I want to kill it. I want to kill it so badly. I want to kill it with fire. I want to burn it until there's nothing left. I remember the Omega raids. They were good raids, but oh my god. Except for that one fight, which can go straight to hell. Let's not forget the reason we brought you here in the first place. What about the transmission they played for you? Could you recognize its language? Have you seen that one meme where they show you two pictures and then it cuts to the woman and says they're the same picture? Imagine holding up an image of Starboard and an image of Larboard and she says it's the same image. It was transmitted in Pan-Galactic Basic. Pan-Galactic Basic? Yeah, it's the language of Star Wars. I mean. A common language in comparatively extensive usage throughout the worlds we have conquered. That's always fun. It means you can finally tell us what the message said. That is a language you understand, right? I understand it perfectly. I am fluent in over 6 million. Thanks, 3PO. My cooperation in this matter, however, is conditional. Okay, tell us or I'll kill you. Elaboration. Your chief, Sid, utilizes the floor as part of his unorthodox filing system, which allowed me to scan a report on the final days. Thanks, Sid! I'm aware that my home planet, the one you call Alphatron, was obliterated in the aftermath of Sir and Medion's meeting. The existence of Dynamis has not factored... He knows about Dynamis! Kill him! Kill him! Kill him! Oh my god! Look, Leander! Omega knows about Dynamis! The existence of Dynamis has not previously factored into my projections, but I am now comprehend the concept in theory. What fails to compute is why the Omicrons were not immune to its effects. Dynamis should have no influence on a race which possesses no heart. No kingdom hearts, one might even say. And yet Sir expressed to Medion a desire to cease existing. Illogical. I must pursue this anomaly further until the full equation becomes clear to me. I must analyze all elements of the final days and deepen my understanding of the heart's intangible properties. I must understand the darkness within our hearts. To expedite the process, I require an external interpretation of those sections of the report which continue to produce errors in my calculations. I require the assistance of Lore Runner. As one who has experienced the ravages of ultimate despair on multiple fronts and displayed immeasurable heart in engineering my defeat, he is the optimal choice to fulfill this role. So either we agree to your conditions or you tell us nothing. Or we could crush him like a bug. Pretty much, Frax. This is terrifying. Like, I'm kind of joking, but I'm mostly not. This has bad idea written all over it in giant glaring neon letters. If this was a D&D campaign, I would turn to the GM and be like, no. And the GM would be like, but this is the adventure I wrote. And I'm like, yeah, but are you crazy? Are you high? And the other players would be like, come on, Lore, what's the worst that could happen? And then I would just start going down a list. Sorry to put you on the spot like this, Lore. If you have the time and the patience to spare, we'd be grateful if you'd humor the toy's demands. Is Alpha dozed off? I suppose the subject was a bit technical. Rouse yourself, Alpha. You must listen to and consider these matters, even as I must. Why don't you make a trip of it? You know, actually visit the places that the Omega thing wants to talk about. It'll make explaining stuff easier for one and help keep Alpha awake and alert. I see you've chosen the mutually beneficial option. Setting aside the matter of Sir, there are three elements of the report which I desire clarification. The first concern the progression of the final days at Radz at Han. I recognize no pattern in those who succumbed to the transformation and those who did not. It's a bit of a trick if you wanted to chat with the locals. How about we lend you an airship? We do not require the outmoded technology. Lore's teleportation spell is the most efficient option for long-distance travel. The chassis is a model, essentially a toy, and Alpha, despite his organic composition, is indistinguishable from a stuffed doll. Conclusion, we qualify as material possessions. Pick us up and teleport the three of us to your destination. Okay. Well. Hey, Dream Whisperer. Sorry, just double checking something real quick. Sensors indicate we have arrived at Radz at Han. Objective: identify factors for resistance to involuntary transformation. Hypothesis: unaltered survivors in the final days will display significant strength of heart. Confirming this theory will require the cooperation of live subjects. Where is the ward designated for residential habitation? Understood. Comma. Set as sub-destination. Please take lead and select subjects we are to review. I think you're right, Zera. Like, they've referenced teleporting a lot in this game. As early as the Titan chain, I believe. But actually doing it on camera? Quack, quack. Alpha chirps enthusiastically, unfazed by the prospect of climbing the stairs. Warning. Please avoid stairs wherever possible. Projections indicate high risk probability for accidental slippage leading to catastrophic structural damage. Stepped inclines also increase energy consumption by 63%. Taking into account the difference in individual limb length, the design is inherently flawed. Convenient step height for one is an exhausting trial for another. Were I to oversee the civic design of the settlement, I would construct a sloped conveyor belt, which enabled automatic traversal. 0 personal energy expenditure. Yeah, I was about to make that joke. Everyone, Omega is a Dalek. Come on, Omega, get up here. Oh, Omega's fascinating as a character. That's not the problem. We just need to destroy Omega immediately. Utterly. Completely. Until there's nothing left. Speaking of, this is really off topic, but you know one thing I'm grateful for? The fact that they haven't brought back most of the killed characters in this series. Like, Al-Shafal hasn't come back. Shiva, I can't remember her name, hasn't come back. You know, they've stayed dead. And in a setting where death is something that is actually an overcomable objective, it is nice that they're actually staying dead. I know that sounds like a minor thing, but I say that with the utmost respect. The overwhelming majority of fiction cannot leave characters dead. They just can't. They can't help themselves. Even in a setting where otherwise death should be permanent. They're like, hey, they're back. No, no, no. Yeah, they showed a lot of restraint in FF14. I appreciate that. Are you a traveler? Please, if you have a moment, I could use an outsider's perspective. See, I was one of those who sought to escape the madness plaguing the world by fleeing to the moon. Not that we ever went, in the end. So here I am, returned recently from Charlane, except now things are strained between my sister and I, since she chose to stay and I chose to leave. Hey, Ect. I asked her to help me find work, and she suggested I look somewhere that isn't Thavnair. As if I wanted to abandon my home. It makes me so angry. Your point is unclear. You elected to relocate to the planet's satellite, thus your relative now perceives you in a negative light? Your sibling's judgment is in error. Based on the information available to Honish citizens, your decision to withdraw to the moon was both logical and correct. Conversely, the decision to remain at Rod's Han, despite low probability of survival, defies explanation. Perhaps her reasoning pathways are faulty. That's right. I'm not sure what you're saying, but I'm right, aren't I? Or so I'd like to think. Problem is, I understand why my sister feels this way. I almost decided against going myself. Even then, I wasn't sure that leaving behind everything I loved was the right choice, and with the way it turned out, Oh, hello again. You're the one who came to ask you questions about Kaldzal. I'm glad to see you're looking well after all that unpleasantness. I still remember the burning skies and hearing the screams. But truth be told, I'm still confused as to what actually happened. I only know it wasn't unusual for entire families to go missing. Many of my neighbors' houses lie empty even now. Kaldzal's place is one of them. He had no close relatives to speak of, and I heard it was members of the consortium who came to remove his belongings. What a terrible thing to have to do. Terrible? Kaldzal's passing was recorded in the report. Clearing out his domicile and readying it for new habitation seems an appropriate reallocation of resources. Dear me, what a clever contraption. But of course I'm not against making use of his quarters. That would be wasteful. It's simply that Kaldzal was always such a vigorous person. All that passion, all those dreams, suddenly gone. I feel the same sorrow for everyone who was lost. Seeing the remnant of those vibrant lives packed away in boxes. That's what I mean by terrible. I'm actually reminded of a quote from Illusion of Gaia, of all games. It's terrible when someone loses their life. Something that took years and years to build and form and design, lost in an instant. Hey, don't I know you? Yeah, after the beasts were taken care of. You told me to join everyone at the square. Thanks to you, I was there when Vitra gave his speech, and I found out who Varsha really was. It's a shame we don't have to play like we used to, but Mama says Vitra's been busy putting the city back in order. Yeah, Vitra's probably really frickin' busy right now. I noticed my MSQ goes to talk to him right now. We'll get there. Maybe I can work for him one day when I'm a man grown. Vitra, Midgar Zormer's offspring, yes? And the child wishes to put himself at the worm's command, that he might make his own contribution to society. A pattern emerges. I predict the Honda survivors are those who had ingested Vitra's blood and become his draconic minions. Though dragons were no match for our civilization's might, their combat capabilities were not to be underestimated. It is unlikely they would experience emotions of dread or uncertainty as exhibited by lesser beings in times of undue stress. Dragons? I'm not a dragon. I never ingested anyone's blood either. Ew. You are not a Vitra's horde. So you possess no hidden means to fight off the beasts. What of fear, then? You were frightened? Yes, I was frightened. I just hid and hoped they wouldn't find me. At least until he told me it was safe to come out. Lore, I require a moment to process this input. Let us move apart and discuss our findings. Let's say, let's not visit Ishgard, shall we? Processing. Evaluating hypothesis against accumulated evidence. I offered optimal analysis of each subject's testimony, yet each time their responses conflicted with my assessment. Without identifying the root cause of the conflict, I'll be unable to properly define what constitutes strength of heart. Maybe it's in the conflict itself. An interesting observation. It is possible my base criteria is in error. In which case it is imperative I continue this learning process and repair any fundamental misconceptions. Next, I wish to interact with an individual who endured similar circumstances to Kalzal prior to transformation. Are you acquainted with any local merchants who had dealings with him? Jinaba of Rub... God, I can't pronounce this. Sub-destination set. It's like Jinabaha. Yeah, this time we're just helping Xehanort out. Because, you know. You know, that's an interesting thought. What if Xehanort had someone to actually, you know... this is going to sound cliche, but what if Xehanort had a friend to actually help him rather than, you know, what he actually had? Which was nothing. Other than one friend who was such a zealot on the other side of the equation that he pushed him away from, you know, any kind of reasoning or logic. I mean, if therapy existed in fiction, a lot of issues could be solved. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to spit too much venom at Ericus, but I've always believed Ericus was at least, as in part, responsible for Xehanort's descent. Halt, Lord. Do not proceed beyond the fence. In this body, birds of that size represent lethal, unthinking threats. They will peck my casing apart, searching for meat that does not exist. Conversely, Alpha can correctly identify my absence of nutritional content. If only he would apply that intelligence towards maintaining a regular feeding schedule. Poor habits adversely affect his mobility. Alpha, have you not been eating right? Yeah, honestly, the Jedi in general could really benefit from some mental health care. Look who it is. I must thank you again for your help in moving our textiles. Recovering from those tragic events has been difficult, of course, but with everyone pulling together, we've managed to get things back up and running. Jinbaha, I come with questions related to that tragedy, specifically your survival of the final days. Although you are similar to Kalzal in many respects, he succumbed to the transformation. You did not. Why? What is the critical difference between you and him? It's not there. Don't see it. Don't see it. What? I don't know. I'm not especially brave or courageous, if that's what you're asking. Perhaps being focused on protecting our workshops kept me from spinning into panic. Still, I imagine Kalzal would have had the same feeling, the same sense of responsibility. Perhaps the weight of it all is what invited his demise. You were of the same mind, resolved to same purpose, yet your strength of heart, or spirit, was not equal. If merely emulating the individual is insufficient, there must be unseen factors involved. Not to interrupt your deep philosophical musing, but do you think I can ask you a small favor? Yeah, what's up? There's a man by the name of Nashvin who's been helping us out here while he gets back on his feet, and I have a feeling he'd benefit from speaking with you. Leave by the eastern exit. Find him just outside. Sure. Leander. The equipment being manufactured here is worn to perform specific duties, yes? Conceptually, it seems analogous to our practice of switching frames to better serve our mission objectives. I, for example, did not begin existence with the Omega model. I was originally supplied with a standard issue Omicron chassis, serial number M017. On this world, that alphanumeric combination would be nearly my given name. Such designations are drawn from our nearly infinite register of celestial bodies to avoid the possibility of duplication. Furthermore, the cluster known as M017 is better expressed in your language as the Omega Nebula, the same word I used to introduce myself to your kind. Though you associate Omega with the advanced weapon construct, it is also my name, and I see no reason to change it no matter what frame I inhabit. That's an interesting way of phrasing that. Oh no, this has bad idea written all over it all this time. And yes, Blatchable, I was planning to add that to our wars. That's all our orders accounted for. Everything looks to be good quality. Kamala will be pleased. Aye, you were with the Scions. You were there, and you were there, and you were there. I'm sure of it. I'll never forget that day. You and your friends helped us escape when people began changing into beasts. My own son was afflicted. Then that huge monstrosity loomed right over him and killed him. Remember when this guy's son was murdered on camera? Because I do. We talked about this just yesterday. I remember my heart turning to ice, freezing in place. The satrap came to my aid, but then he too was gone. Wait, no, I don't want to see that incident again. Please? Okay. The memories run together in my mind like flashes from a nightmare. Only the words of your comrades still ring clear. I repeated them over and over like a mantra as I fled for my life. You must run for their sake and your own. We talked about this during the run. Despair is a terrifying weapon because it is so extraordinarily easy for it to spread. It dominoes like crazy. This is true in real life too, by the way. This is actually how mob mentality tends to get started, or rather one of the ways mob mentality can get started. It all seems so surreal, which is probably what saved me from the transformation. The truth of it didn't begin to sink in until the worst of it was over. I have not the words to describe how I felt then, the sorrow, the overwhelming sense of helplessness. I may still be wallowing in misery if not for our own friend Jinabaha. I'd lost my will to work, and he encouraged me with kind words and odd jobs, and now somehow I live again. I am thankful to him, to the courageous Ahoen, and to you. If you see your comrades, please let them know their efforts were not in vain. You said you lost your will to work. This signifies a cessation of efforts to maintain basic life functions, yes? What changed to extract you from stagnation? An offer of work from Jinhabaha should mean little to one without the desire to accept it. Was it a matter of mortal instinct, a primal need to survive and thrive? Instinct? No, it wasn't that. If anything, my instincts were telling me to lay down and welcome an end to the pain. Hashtag relatable. Every day I think of my boy's final moments. I think of how scared he must have been and how it must have hurt. I want to scream my throat raw. Satrap 2 still haunts my dreams. I see him being swallowed whole and jolt awake in a cold sweat. But something changed when Jinabaha came to me. I looked up and saw that even without my son or Ahahuan, the world around me continued to turn. And because that fact grieved me so, I knew it fell upon me to live and remember them. Strange, isn't it? What drives me to rise in the morning is the very sorrow that once crippled me. I really must return to my work. To lose this job after everything I just said would be a poor jest indeed. May the sisters keep you well. Don't worry, they don't exist. What? We killed them too. Sorrow. The emotion generated by mortals when their ideals fail to materialize. This I have observed. Yet when I listen to how Nashvan's sorrow is served to rescue him from near fatal despondency, his logic eludes me. Am I incapable of perceiving the full measure of the heart's properties? My best projections fail to predict our subject's responses, and despite their almost equal occupation and mental parameters, Jinabaha and Kalzal exhibited different reactions to the dynamis effect. I am no closer to recognizing the pattern for involuntary transformations, and your ephemeral mortal spirits confound me as much, if not more, than they did before. Have you considered there is no such pattern? We like to think that there's patterns in life, but, well, no pattern. You imply the transformation was not a contingent on individual fortitude, but rather random contribution of environmental factors. Such a theory would explain otherwise conflicting data. Very well. I shall accept this as provisional conclusion to this part of investigation. I do, however, expect you to continue supplementing my education of heart-related matters. What? Whoops. It is actually extraordinarily human psychology to invent patterns when there either are none, or when they don't perceive the existing pattern. It could be argued that there is always a pattern. It's just we don't have the capacity or complexity to understand or perceive it. But ignoring that, which is more the realm of theory, yeah, no, our brains are wired to see patterns. We look at things and we automatically presume things that are there, whether they are or not. Our next destination will be Camp Broken Glass. I desire elaboration on the dealings between the Ilzabard contingent and the citizens of Garlemald. The report described the contingent's purpose as salvation of the local populace. Furthermore, both factions faced a common enemy in the Telepharoi. Why did they not immediately combine forces to their mutual benefit? Their inconsistency requires closer examination. Lore, initiate teleportation. I noticed the quest name, although please don't ask me to pronounce it. A5. Let's see if I can pull it up in a way so you can read it easier. There you go. There's the name of the quest. Teleportation successful. Evaluating immediate environs. Cold weather region by Aetheri standards, but significantly less extreme than a planet with ice planet classification. This body should not be unduly impeded. In contrast to Alpha and his uncontrollable shivering, my frame seems highly resistant to low temperatures. Retrieving data. Records indicate remnants of the contingent force and a number of Imperial citizens yet inhabit this location. We must speak with representatives from both factions and explore respective aptitudes. Proceed. See you around, Act. I honestly don't think the Patchwalker chain is or stream is going to be that long. I'm anticipating about a week overall. We're already through a fairly decent chunk of some of this, so. Interruptions aside. Lore, come to see how things are progressing, have you? I can't speak for the overall strategy, but communication with locals has become a damn sight easier since Julius and his soldiers stepped in to help. Oh, we're facing our fair share of distrust, of course. Some folk even think we're enslaving minds with our foreign magics. Oh, we have Anima to thank for that, putting that ideas in their heads. But all things considered, I'd say we're doing pretty well. Establishing an open dialogue was the first big step. Query, you consider this level of progress acceptable? The reality of your efforts falls short of the ideal. If your aim is to provide efficient succor to local populace, absorbing their numbers into your command structure would be the optimal path. Oh, I wouldn't go that far. We're not looking to take over their nation. If we're to do this the right way, we need to recognize and respect each other's way of life. Well, it may not be the easiest solution. I agree with the contingent slow and steady approach. I'm just happy we're saving lives. And yeah, I recognized him immediately, obviously, since that's probably my second favorite scene in the entire game. And yeah, no, this is totally an epilogue for Endwalker. 100%. I almost wish we'd done this last, but whatever, MSQ. Moving on. Matsya. A shadow from the past? Yes, I know you from Victor Spoils. Have you come to laugh at me? A wretch who chose to lose Licinia and her sister rather than accept your help? The fool who ended up reliant on your charity nonetheless? Yeah, I remember him. I actually do remember him. Well, perhaps I deserve your derision. My compatriots surely scorn my failed conviction. I have shamed my people and brought shame upon my nation. I am no better than a kept beast, my pride sold for a bowl of feed. For my soul, nay, that you shall not have. I've refused your honeyed offers of a new home. This land is where I belong, and this is where I shall remain. Yeah, no problem. Let me just kill you. There we go. You demonstrate opposition to contingent's overtures. On what basis do you refuse cooperation? Data suggests local populace is struggling to produce the bare minimum of sustenance. Have you some secret strategy for survival? Or do your orders compel you to accept your present misfortune? Must I be mocked by a Magitech toy now? No, I have no secret strategy, no binding orders. I comport myself as any true Garlean patriot would, uncompromising, unbending. Ah, blast it all. Once again, this input is unanticipated. Let us move aside and process. Yeah, I was actually thinking about this. The survivors up here who choose to stay up here are probably flat out dependent upon imports to survive. Just base level survival. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if the Garlean Empire, or rather this city in particular, required imports to survive before everything went to hell. It's just, you know, that was your typical imperialism thing. You extract wealth and resources from the conquered territories and pull them into the homeland, right? Now, well, it's a little bit of a different dynamic, but it's the same general concept. After all, it was never an empire intended to endure. Accessing and analyzing recorded data. Integration complete. I have evaluated this most recent input and made comparisons to our discoveries at Radzatan. Consistent only in their inconsistency, the responses from both contingent member and Imperial citizen were highly irrational. Conversely, any Omicron considering their predicament would have echoed my sentiments exactly. The divergence from self-evident logic is key. Hypothesis. The illogical relationship between would-be saviors and suffering populace is another result of unpredictable nature of mortal parts. Any property or ability this inherited has inherent advantages and disadvantages. Yet never have I encountered such a unique detriment. It appears that those who share your metaphysical capabilities are prone to complicating simple cognitive processes. Buddy, you have no idea. An understandable quality. I will, however, persist in furthering my understanding of the subject. Well. Query. Prior to formulating our next step, I wish to know, who is Licinia, the Imperial mentioned? An idiot. One of the first people we tried to help when we got up here. Acknowledged. To summarize, insufficient data on foreign culture resulted in inadvisable and ultimately fatal action. Correct, Drax. I witnessed such self-destructive behavior over the course of our planetary conquests. Overwhelmed, enemy forces would voluntarily withdraw to perilous regions, leading to a succession of inevitable losses. Tangential data request. I wish to learn about burial customs. The practice has ever seemed nonsensical, but new data suggests it arises from the same source as your cognitive complications. Take me to Licinia's burial site. It may help me to understand. Well, Omega's dead. Energy delivery systems compromised. Core temperature critically low. Immediate heating required. Yeah, immune to the cold, huh? Actually, I was about to say, burial... We've got a whole lot of different burial rituals, I guess is the word, here in real life. But let's be honest, dealing with the dead is a huge base-level issue. It is a survival component. Corpses are bad to just kind of keep around. Like, even ignoring the obvious problems of disease and the related issues therewith, like the sanitary nature of it, corpses will attract things like bugs and beasts. And yeah, they also stink, and they will destroy water's potability. The creators of this model must have experienced impaired in cognitive reasoning during the design process. Upon our return, I'll request additional climate shielding, as well as an accurate temperature sensor array. This will not affect my combat capabilities, but should improve my basic survival rate. Reconfirm sub-destination. Alpha, you are to remain in close proximity. Close enough for me to envelop me in your feathers. You are permitted to carry me on your back, if you so choose. Jesus, Omega. You were lucky we're humoring you, because, let's be honest, you're not actually a threat to us. I think we've proven that. Remember, we killed Omega canonically by ourselves. It wasn't until, what, Shadow, that we started actually having groups canonically? Hello, MPPY. God, what a wasteland. Hello, Equalitas. A deceptively deep snowdrift almost defeated me, but we have successfully arrived at location designated. Caution advised. An unknown individual appears to be investigating the object of my interest. You're Eosia's champion, aren't you? Lore runner? Yeah, that's me. I never introduced myself, did I? Manius, soldier 1st Legion, comrade of Julius. Maybe from Tertium? Spoke about collecting ceruleum, and later on, after Lord Quintus had passed... No, say it like it is. He committed suicide. Manius, explanation requested. What is the reason for your presence here? It's supposed to be the teeniest Magitech weapon Oh no, it's just an oddly shaped communicator, isn't it? It's MPPY! I know, right, Bragwin? The Garlean Empire was a brilliantly crafted machine. It's horrible. Thank you, MPPY, for the support. Very much. I will jot that down for the Age of Empires block, Baldur's Gate 3, and, of course, the BRPG block. In any case, I have nothing worthy to report. I heard the sisters who used to live in my sector were buried here, so I thought I'd come and pay my respects. Alphino and Alize told me the story, complete with profuse apologies, though they were adamant that no amount of remorse could erase the tragedy of what came to pass. Not that my fellow soldiers and I are any place to judge. We were manipulated, fooled into starting an insurrection which led to countless deaths amongst our own countrymen. Objection. The casualties incurred through your infighting are distinct from those caused by the Ilzabard contingent. To restate, you are justified in seeking restitution for contingent from causing the deaths of Lucinia and her sister. Retaliation for damages sustained is also a logical progression. Glare. I can deduce two reasons why you do not initiate hostilities with Lore and his allies. 1. You judge your remaining forces too weak to contend effectively with the contingent. And 2. Your emotions are complicating the issue. Tell me, which of these is correct? Well, when you lay it out like that... I'm afraid my answer isn't like to win me any medals, so do you mind keeping this to yourselves? There's the unspoken thought that we're outmatched on the battlefield, certainly, but the real reason I'm not demanding restitution has little to do with weighing the odds. The simple truth is I'm so caught up with simple survival I've no strength to spare for past grievances. Same goes for avenging any comrades we lost, be that my brothers in arms or Lord Quintus himself. Although it seems everyone has an opinion on the matter of his passing. Some say he should have fought to the end, that he abandoned us to the enemy. Others praise him for taking burden of responsibility and freeing us to walk our own path. I don't know who's right and who's wrong, but I'm inclined to side with the latter. He gave us choice of freedom, and that's the choice I made. I could cry and rant and rage, but what's the point? I'll save my energy for worrying about my next meal, my next task. I need to focus on the ones left behind, on making some kind of life for my comrades and me. And if I need to lean on the contingent to do that, that's what I'll do. Even if their aid comes at a price, I'm willing to pay it. Even amongst your own, there are times when the cooperation demands compromise. What does it matter that they're outsiders? Besides, I think I could grow to like Alphino and Alize. They've reached out to us with kindness and compassion from the very beginning. Summation. Your desire to survive, even should it mean allying with the contingent, was a feeling you already harbored. That your side had committed worse atrocities was the logic you invented later to justify your reasoning. Blunt, but accurate, I suppose. The heart is honest about what it wants, even if the mind takes a while to reconcile the decision. Well, this has been oddly cathartic, but I must return to my duties. There are wild beasts to cull, watchfires to light, and supplies to transport. Even without an emperor, there's no rest for an imperial. Be well and be safe. Upon review of recent input, I have arrived at an unexpected conclusion. I have been formulating my assessment on the premise that it was man who commanded the strength of the heart, but the data suggests the opposite is true. The surge of spirits, of feelings, of emotions can entangle your thoughts to such a degree that even control of your own behavior is compromised. It seems a most counterproductive specification. Or if I can phrase that quote a little bit differently. So it seems it does not pay to be too loyal to one's heart. I will have to be sure and remember that. Boss music. This also explains why my interactions with mortal subjects have produced more confusion than clarification. It presents a formidable barrier to understanding. The vibe I've gotten is slightly different, Malkaiser. I've noticed that they keep... How do I explain this? That they keep bringing up the last survivors, the refugees, for lack of a better word to put it, of other worlds and other civilizations after the result of the final days. And again, as has been mentioned a few times, it's possible this is the only planet left right now. That we're it. But if we look up into the stars, there is nothing else out there right now. So it's entirely possible this is kind of becoming, you know, the hub for whoever's left. I would be remiss if I did not point out that that's pretty much exactly what's been going on with Azeroth ever since Legion. My earlier hypothesis has been borne out. The suboptimal operation being conducted here is the result of emotionally compromised reasoning. I am ready to progress to my third and final query. I would learn more about those referred to as ancients. It is clear that this group was a crucial factor in the final days, but the information contained in the report was insufficient to form an overview. The Loperates are creations of the ancients and said to maintain repositories of their knowledge. By my calculations, the base of these moon dwellers will provide the best source of additional data. Teleport us to their burrow, Lore, preferably before my battery freezes. Good morning, Savacom. Who's ready to grind? No, I'm joking. I am sorry you had to deal with that with Subway, though. That's bullcrap. I give you this FF4 music to make it up to you. Oh, God, Malkaiser. I hope not. I don't want to kill Omega again. For various reasons. Your teleportation spell successful. We appear to have arrived at the location described as Bestway's Burrow. Inspection of a technology in use here would give me detailed insight into the ancients and their civilization. This body, however, lacks my previous frame's advanced observational functionality. I will require external assistance. Well, remember, WoW is going to be reviewed this year, too, Sabacom. Aggroingly. It is all lore. I've missed you so. What's this you've brought with you? This soft, feathery vision. We've been outfluffed. Pack up the moon. It's all over. Why bother with burrow-building bunnies when you can walk around with this adorable avian engineer? Just bake me into a pie and be done with it. Oh no, FF14 is a great game, but I'm sorry. I'm just going to spoil this right now. WoW is going to score higher than FF14. It's just going to. We just need to acknowledge and accept that and move on. Inspect our inventions. Wait, so you're not done with us? I wasn't truly worried, of course, and I certainly wasn't about to roll myself in dough and dive into Cooking Way's new oven. If a technical breakdown is what you need, then I am your Loperate. As you're the resident atmospheric regulation expert, I can field any questions or query you might care to pose. Yeah, no, WoW literally has, like, twice as much content and has had a lot longer to perfect their craft. There's nothing else for that, right? You'll notice that as much as I compare WoW and FF14 directly side by side, if we're being 100% honest, it would be more accurate to review them like this. Because FF14 has been following in WoW's footsteps. Most of the things that WoW has done over the years to improve itself is stuff FF14 is also doing. So, they're playing catch-up, but they are catching up. They are improving as time moves on, right? Yeah, expansion to expansion will be a much more interesting comparison, I think. Sorry. Acceptable. I will employ this being to guide me around the facilities. Your presence is not mandatory. Even locked in my current chassis, I am still an autonomous construct that has endured hundreds of your life cycles. I am capable of completing this simple objective alone. I will also admit on a personal level that part of the reason I love WoW so much is because I love the world. No pun intended. But Azeroth is legitimately one of, if not the, my favorite setting of all time, of all the settings I've observed. And describing why is going to be something that I intend to be doing as we go throughout the course of WoW's history. Objective complete. What happened to Growing Way? Did you bake him into a pie? After my 50th question, his responses began to suffer noticeable delays. By that stage, we had viewed a representative cross-section of Lockport engineering, thus I deemed it unnecessary to retain his company. Oh no, if there's anything I anticipate with the WoW review, it'll be a bunch of people in chat constantly bashing WoW. It's one of the reasons I keep kind of saying, guys, you're going to have to accept that it's going to review well. Because I have this weird feeling that a lot of people think WoW is not going to review well. And that is not true. That's the simplest and bluntest way I could possibly give that. In fact, I can tell you pretty much exactly how WoW is going to turn out. I know this because I've already covered the other two big Blizzard games. Check this out. Let's pull up StarCraft. StarCraft 2 is the best scoring game that I've covered. However, despite that fact, it has, give me a moment here, 55 story negatives. That is huge. It also, by the way, has 19 gameplay negatives, which is still not exactly bad. But 55 story negatives is insanity. Let's look at Diablo 3. Diablo 3 is, I believe, the 5th highest reviewed game I've ever covered. Hang on, where are we at with that? Third. Diablo 3 is the third highest reviewing game I've ever covered. Diablo 3 has 26 story negatives and 24 gameplay negatives. And again, that's huge. And the reason I'm saying all of this is that's Blizzard at their best in a nutshell. Blizzard at their best has very problematic, very flawed games that they just kind of blanket with positives. Right? That's Blizzard when they were doing their best, is just this shotgun of negatives completely blanketed by a carrier of positives. That's how the WoW review is going to go. So, like, yeah, comparing Shadowbringers to Pandaria, that's a tough question. I'm not sure. Pandaria is one of the strongest ones story-wise and has some absolutely amazing dungeon design, boss design, quest design, etc. So, we'll see. Extrapolating from fraction of technology on display, the full spectrum of the ancients' advancements was, at minimum, equivalent to a level 4 civilization. A fact which demands further investigation. Despite establishing a near-ideal society, these beings nevertheless harbored a weakness which invited self-destruction. In studying them, I stand to gain a greater understanding of Sir's anomalous decision. Oh yeah, speaking of which, if you ever want to learn the lore of Warcraft, well, I hear some bald idiot did an entire series whose sole purpose was to do a better presentation of the amazing story that exists in that series. Just find it out. Yeah, exactly, Chuluto. There's going to be a lot of negatives in WoW. That's true. That guy sucks, Talia. I do think Legion is going to beat Endwalker. Endwalker's great, don't mistake me, but Legion, right? Not sure about Pandaria. Growing Way informed me that another type of ancient-made entity exists on the satellite, the one they call the Watcher. I would speak to him. Conserve your ether. We'll ride this Argos to our destination as suggested. Legion had two major negative points to it, and really, only two. The first was the fact that the way the artifacts worked at launch was badly designed. Some of you remember that, the way artifacts originally were. That is not the state of artifacts now, or indeed at the end of Legion. They fixed all of that. But at launch, Legion artifacts were stupid. The second major negative, whoops, is that I'm going too far? Oh. The second major negative to Legion is quite literally the final cutscene of the expansion. Something that was made by the B team in order to set up BFA long after the original story had been written and designed. The entity does not seem to acknowledge our existence. Hypothesis: upon our arrival, Growing Way expressed a concern that he had been outfluffed. This suggests the existence of a fluff-based hierarchy. My station in such a system would be predictably low, but Argos is adamant in ignoring even Alpha. Its fluffiness level is impossible to engage. Argos turns to me. You're the fluffiest of them all, dear Argos. Yeah. Argos gives an exasperated snort before motioning his back. Yeah, I know this is going to be antithetical to even mention this, but it's worth noting both BFA and Shadowlands will probably be net positive reviews. Don't mistake me, those expansions kind of suck, and I intend to never play them again once I'm finished reviewing them. But there's just too much good to assume that it's going to be net negative expansions. I mean, take one walk through the Ardenweald and tell me that that's not going to be a cavalcade of positives. I am bemused by the arrival of these small visitors, but I see they are companions of yours. What a rare thing for my abode to be thus crowded. How may I be of service to you? Hello, Watcher. My purpose is to learn more about the Ancients. I would know of their deeds, their philosophies, the very nature of their hearts. I would understand why the final days was visited upon my home planet. A worthy endeavor, but there's another better suited to assisting you with that task. Perhaps you might favor us with a tale or two of the Ancients you met during your travels, Lore. My fragmented memories would be a pale substitute indeed for the clarity of your more recent experiences. Now, Shadowlands also is going to take it in the pants in several respects. For example, everything to do with Kel'Thuzad. I'm still mad to this very day what they did to Kel'Thuzad in Shadowlands. And of course, the Jailer is going to probably surpass Jaula in negatives. I wasn't even going to talk about Korthia. Just what the hell were they thinking with that nonsense? And I also don't like when they get a little bit too weird and metaphysical in any fiction. Never mind when we start going to a realm that consists entirely of concepts. Ugh. Yeah, the Jailer. I'm borrowing that Wenlock. Yes, I can envision every detail. Your meeting with Vanan, Emetselk, and Hythlodaeus, the sorrow and determination of Hermes. I am a creation of Hydaelyn, and as such I believed the age of the Ancients would fade and be forgotten. Yet knowing that their memory lives so vividly within you brings me great joy. I pray you keep them close to your heart. Yeah, please tell me we're going to, like, document all this crap. We know a lot about the history of this planet. Can we please document all this crap? You know, in case we die to some random primal we're killing this week. At the time of your journey to the past, the one whose essence I embody would have been a scholar at Anider. A shame, had you reason to go there, perhaps you might have met. As a man of learning, he was a firm friend with Vana. They spent long hours trading theories or debating the laws of the universe. I remember joining her faction as the final days bore down upon us. Yet of the events surrounding that tragedy I recall precious little. Hydaelyn wished for the people of your age to decide their own path. Thus I suspect my recollection was limited by design. Yet even she could not cut away the one persistent memory. I feel most distinctly his sadness at what was to come to pass. That in becoming Hydaelyn's heart, Vana would stand forever apart from the people she so loved. If she were so resolved in her convictions, he too would share the sleepless vigil over the future yet to unfold. Thus was the vow he made to Vana as her transformation took hold. His fervent wish must have reached her in some fashion, for though his life was drained away by the summoning, he was reborn with new form and new purpose when I awoke as Watcher of the Moon. And heard you, Lore. You felt, you thought. And in seizing the future for yourselves, have you brought full circle the saga which Vana began. What you accomplished was no divine miracle. It was but a beacon of hope passed down from one generation to the next. A succession of wishes and prayers reshaping the planet into the world you knew you deserved. You have our deepest gratitude. I thank you not only as myself, but as the man I once was, and on behalf of those who devoted themselves to Vana's vision. I understand the facts of your story, Lore, but not of how you chose to process them. On what grounds do you speak of Vana with such fondness? By sundering the world, she ultimately guided your kind to victory, yet in doing so caused irreparable damage to its individual members. The full scale of that act is beyond calculation. It is evident, however, that it resulted in a protracted period of suboptimal existence for Emmett Selk and his brethren. Query. If the survival of your kind is the deciding factor in your evaluation, then should you not also admire Hermes and his decision to subject man to trial, forcing you to change or perish, as was the fate of countless civilizations before you? From my perspective, his determination was similar to that of the Omicron's ancestors, those who began trading flesh for machines so our people might stand against the onslaught of aggression from other races. It was an unprecedented attempt, accompanied by failure and sacrifice. Early experiments were crude, primitive. Had they not made those first advances, however, we would have remained vulnerable to our environment. The violence would have utterly consumed us. And what of Emmett Selk himself? Judging by your retelling, he was a benevolent ally saddled with tragic fate. Yet I remember the years when my instruments fed me data from events across the entire planet. During this time, I witnessed the Ascians engineer multiple instances of cataclysmic strife. These calamities, as you know them, are responsible for planet-wide destruction. A man whose endgame relied on the extinction of all modern mortals must by definition be your worst enemy. I require an answer. As a being of heart and soul, how do you classify each of these pivotal figures? From your perspective, which of them was most justified in their actions? You're asking me? These are some interesting options. Obviously, all three are an option. There's also an option to pick all, and an option to pick none. That's ironically my own answer. If you asked me if they were justified, my answer, and this is something I've slowly started thinking about in real life, is what the hell does justification matter? Justification is a neat little thing when it comes to systems and rules, but in reality it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as justification in real life. That's something we affix after the effect. You know, this happens, were they justified? Post, past tense. I'm gonna go with none. Correct, Blade Ball. I think I understand. You seek a definitive answer, yet based on your own experiences, Laura and I might develop very different opinions. In the same fashion, you're free to form your own thoughts on the matter. Do not be so swift to consider them without merit. I do not have my own thoughts on the matter. I assess each situation with the same logic pathways available to every Omicron. Which, by the way, as a fresh reminder, at the moment is you. Even if 1,000 Omicrons were asked to analyze the same event, they would all return the same result, regardless of individual experience. There's no strength to be found in fractured reasoning. Nonetheless, I find your input valuable. Recording data alongside interview results. This concludes my investigation into the incomplete elements of the final day's report. I will reanalyze the accumulated information and examine the factors which led to Sir's incomprehensible decision. Let's return to Thumbzane. I kinda do Pillars of Snow. Far be it from me to agree with Xenos on anything whatsoever, but he was right in that speech. And you know I hate Xenos. Really quick, not that I want to drag the topic back to WoW for a second, but I've been thinking in my head what I would consider to be the worst zone in WoW. You know, the hissing wastes of WoW. And honestly, Kurthia probably qualifies. It's just, it's so bad. Like, top to bottom, it's so bad. I'd have to think past that, because just, ugh, Kurthia, you know? Yeah, no flying, not particularly interesting quest design. Speaking of which, Kurthia, yes, Blade Taval. Kurthia also, has, this won't really, this will be the kind of thing I can only speak from experience. But Kurthia also has an interesting problem that a lot of BFA and Shadowlands zones have. The quests don't share properly. If you're doing them in a group, which I usually am, most of the quests you have to, it's like, hey, loot 5 of these. Well, they don't share. And in case you don't understand the significance of that, most quests share in WoW, from Cataclysm onwards. And in fact, in Warlords and Legion, specifically, all quests shared. And they walked back from that into BFA and Shadowlands for some reason. Like, why? Why would you do that? Oh, don't even get me started about the frickin' weekly grind. Oh, just... yeah. I would say Kurthia probably has the potential to surpass even the Dustfall of Marsh or Original Silithus. Because Original Silithus is vacuous. It's essentially a glorified grind zone. And of course, Dustfall of Marsh is, well, it's a BC zone. But I would still say neither of those really quite surpass Kurthia. For those of you curious, I would say the overall... the zones that are in qualification for worst are Kurthia, Dustfall of Marsh, Silithus, the Azure Mist Isles, both of them, so that's 2 zones, and Ghostlands and Evermoon. I'd say those are the zones that are most likely to score the worst. And yeah, you notice that that's several BC zones, one vanilla zone, and one Shadowland zone. Your journey with Omega was properly educational, I hope. We'd planned to ask you all about that in the mystery transmission, but I'm afraid something urgent came up. Seems one of our Ironworks associates has found up a job elsewhere, and Jesse and Wedge needs Wedge and me to rush in and lend a hand. There's an airship waiting for us in the harbor. Do you think you can escort us up there and talk and walk? Acceptable. I'm fully capable of speech during ambulation. I figured. Let's move on. Actually, I do, Blade Chaval. This is not the song I was expecting to play for this. So cleared up all those points of confusion then? I had mistakenly classified your intangible heart as an ability of some kind. An uncanny power the Omicrons could neither learn nor even measure. Yeah, I noticed this is the version without lyrics. Even now, its full nature yet eludes my comprehension. Based on our investigations, however, I have decided to alter my definition. Warlords is an expansion I think will score much better than people think it will. A phenomenon which influences one's interpretation of reality. That is as close to an answer as I have found. Oh, sorry. Accordingly, Sir's actions upon meeting Medion strongly indicate the presence of a heart. Sir did not follow routine logic, but formulated an independent assessment based on the reality it perceived. It felt that the best recourse for the Omicrons was to cease their expansion and terminate all functions. Going back to that idea that this is the only planet, possibly the only habitable planet left. I don't know why, but this always has struck me as a little bit weird. If I look up into the star outside, you know, I look up into the night sky, I don't really think there's any alien life out there. I've talked about that before. If there is, it is so alien as to be indistinguishable from anything else, and thus, for all intents and purposes, it's not even there. But that's different. Imagine a setting in which there was alien life, quite a lot of it, and now there isn't. That hits differently. That's a different vibe entirely. And it's just it just completely changes the tone of looking up into the empty night sky. So, thanks, Hermes. Appreciate that. Well, here's our ship. And we need to be going. But first, I'll hold you to your bargain, Omega. It's time you told us what was in that transmission from the flight logs. Acknowledged. I will uphold the terms of our agreement. Good, because if you didn't, I'd frickin' kill you. The recording salvage from the Ragnarok was a simple one. The message is so basic, in fact, that all the time spent listening to it may result in a net loss in value. Shall I continue? Now you're just teasing. Tell the message already! Acknowledged. Converting dialect coding to local language. To whomever receives this message out there in the vast reaches of the cosmos. To someone, I hope, who looks up at the stars with the same wistful gaze as mine. To you I say, forge ahead. May all our tomorrows be blessed with joy. Admittedly not how I interpreted that, Blade to Ball. If we tossed a message out into space, it would keep going long after we are gone. This message had no designated recipient. It lacks purpose. The concept of joy is overly abstract. The vocal supplication to manifest said joy, unrealistic in optimism. Yet based on their expressions, my assessment of the transmission's value conflicts with apparent impact. Still, I fail to understand you, sir. Your heart still confuses me. Was termination of everything the correct course? How did you arrive at this conclusion? It defies all my attempts at reasoning. But I was designed to evolve. If I continue to learn, probability that I will eventually comprehend this phenomenon is greater than 0. So I'll put the dilemma of your decision aside for now. Continue my existence on this distant planet. As I dwell amongst the many life forms, I will continue to piece together the complete shape of their mortal hearts. I must document their progress. Your contribution to my education is appreciated, Laura. Indeed, I have amassed a satisfying quantity of valuable data. Now that our negotiated business is complete, however, Alpha and I will return to traveling the world. Drawing on recent experience, I am confident we can expand the radius of our ventures by a significant margin. We need not limit ourselves to Eorzea. I'm now familiar with Charlene and Radzit Han, and would also like to revisit the freezing climes of Garliru. I neglected to instruct Biggs and Wes to upgrade my climate shielding. I will reroute my request to Deputy President Jesse, engaging ambulatoration and parting salutations. Farewell, Laura. Well, Alpha gives me a piece of paper. It's an orchestra. It reminds me of one of those one-sentence horror stories. What's worse, that we're alone in the universe, or that we aren't? Where am I? Like way out here in the middle of nowhere. Okay, well, let's try something a little bit lighter hearted than that. You know, we're done with Hildebrand. Forever. Hello, runner. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, imagine if we actually did Hildebrand now, instead of on Saturday. I am Mejdina, assistant shopkeep and apprentice seamstress at Tataru Taru's boutique. I doubt you remember my face. I am merely one of many who you owe our lives, but you'll always have my gratitude for saving me that day on the Eblin Rhyme. To be honest, I do not remember you, and I have a pretty good memory for that kind of thing. You are too kind. Well, I hate to ask aught more of you. Please say that you're here to assist in Mistress Tataru's new endeavor. Not yet, but soon he will be. Evil laughter. Whatever would we do without your penchant for turning up precisely when you're needed, eh? Considering the timeline in which we died, I'm pretty sure I know exactly what happened to you. Fun fact, when a friend of mine was going through ARR, the only character that actually interested them at all of the early stuff was Tataru. No, seriously. They also hated Minfilia. And I mean just venom-spitting hate. It was actually quite funny. Now, to make the long story of our solvency short, we have secured the resources to produce the new designs I developed in cooperation with guilds near and far, and in sufficient quantity to meet rising demand. We cannot rest on our laurels, however. To serve passing adventurers and the occasional intrepid Charlene is all well and good, but we're hardly taking the world by storm, no. Much like yourself, we must ever look to new horizons. The Scions proved that cooperation on a planet-wide scale is possible. It would be fools not to capitalize on a global economy. All for the greater good, of course. Yes, this is a wonderful opportunity to bring people together and make so much money. I often think that back to that incredible moment when the Garlean army came to our rescue. Perhaps our efforts, too, will one day lead to a miracle like that which took place in the Eblin Rhyme. I have no doubt they shall, but we mustn't expect such alliances to form themselves. We must be proactive. Who better to woo our future partners in commerce than our current #1 customer? You. Our erstwhile comrades in arms know that when it comes to good equipment and better ideas, few have such keen eyes as our adventurer extraordinaire. Even should they hesitate at first, I'm certain you can convince them using the samples I've prepared. If you'll cover my Aetheryte expenses. Of course. With your assistance, we'll have both the coin and goodwill flowing in no time. Things falling into place. Where should we send Laura first? That's a good question. No, seriously, that's what it says. Don't you worry, I have it all planned out. First, Limsa Laminsa. Sicard has the bloody executioners working harder than ever, so he's sure to appreciate any extra supplies. Next, Gridania. The seeds here are a source of trusted authority and insight into the Shroud. Yeah. So we'd not go amiss in cultivating the investment of, say, Arum Senna. I hear tell he has some interest in affairs abroad, so the novelty of our samples may persuade him to our side. As for Ul'dah, I feel confident in pinning our hopes on Pippin. He's always been a stalwart ally, and it goes without saying he has more than a little sway with the Sultanate. Between his involvement with the Immortal Flames, the Syndicate, the Colosseum, he's bound to have a use for quality accoutrements. With that out of the way, Magina, would you do the honors? Oh man, I would love to watch that Mulkaiser. I'd put my money on Totaro, though. Rowena is too abusive. She's, like, if you think about it, Rowena and Totaro are the inverse of each other in terms of how they approach things. Rowena uses negative reinforcement, whereas Totaro uses positive reinforcement. And I'll usually bet on the latter when given a choice. Never let it be said Totaro is stingy with her samples. Now, if you make your way to Limsa and climb aboard the Astalicia, I'm certain someone will point you in Sicard's direction. I have my own avenues of inquiry to attend to, but I'll check in periodically to see how your journey is coming along. So let's get to it. Yeah, you ever notice how the Lalafelians are usually the rich people? I have a feel. Oh God! It's okay. Don't say anything. I think there's a bunny boy here. Just gonna slowly walk over here. Be nice and safe. Okay. I think we're safe. Whew. All right. But you ever know? I have a feeling like we see so many Lalafelians. Oh God! we see so many Lalafelians after they've already become trade empires and merchant kings. It's interesting to see Totaro like going through the process of becoming that, right? As she's been slowly building up the empire. How much do I have for that? Limsa. How many people do we have on, anyways? Not that many. God, Limsa is always so bright. Wait. Yep. This is a new one. I haven't seen this crowd before. Just a bunch of people hanging. Unlike the circle of death over here. It looks like a cult. I mean, you know, it does. Oh, I've already checked this quest, right? So, grant my indulgence for a moment. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Okay, this way. Yeah, so apparently I somehow missed Fisher? I'm not even sure how. Like, I even did the other quest here, so I'm not sure how I missed that one. So we now have to upgrade the number of quests I've missed to 1 instead of 0. And I'm not going to go through every zone in the game again, because I just did that last night. No, Minor was one of the ones I already caught that I missed, if that makes any sense. Like, I had missed Minor and Botanist, but I knew that. But then I missed missing Fisher. Whatever. I recognize you. What do you want? Blood. As long as it's not another bloody apocalypse, I don't see why not. Wait here. Yeah, there were 2 very, very short ones in Rhalgr's Reach, which was literally just a go-to and then come back. I did those off camera, obviously. So a controller screw is so tight, it starts to damage the screw by unscrewing it. Ooh. There's not a lot of options there, to be honest with you. The first option is to try and use an actual automated thing, a gun. Drill gun or screw gun, or whatever the hell they're actually called. That can sometimes fix it, or it can make it much worse. Because, yeah, if you're already stripping the screw, you've already reached the point where it's bad, if that makes sense. it depends on how much you care about whatever it is you're unscrewing, because at a certain point you might have to start prying it apart, which is actually destroying the object in question. You might also look into getting some oil and getting that involved. But that also can do damage to the thing in question. Again, once you've already reached the point of stripping the screw, you're already past the point of really being able to do much about it. Thought we'd seen the last of you for a while. What brings you aboard? Your crew seems busy. No rest for the wicked and all. We're getting so many shipping requests, we've hardly put down anchor since old Charlayan. You know, there was a time I thought Paradin was the whole world. That being the best of them meant something. Going to Ilzabard made me see how small my world was compared to the real one. Standing next to the planet's finest, I started to wonder what I had to brag about. Then the bloody executioners went and did me proud by bringing a bigger haul of adamantite than anyone else in the realm. Between that and the new metalworks we got going on with the kobolds and the Sahagin looking to export their wares, it seemed like the right time for the executioners to change their sails, so to speak. Which is all to say, if you've got wares for promoting, be happy to show them across the realm and beyond. Well, it's funny you say that. Masterworks from Tataru Taro's boutique, guaranteed by the warrior light himself. Almost seems a waste to wear them. Folks will be lining up at the dock for these. Literally, seeing as old Charlayan's only accessible by sea. Now if we got ourselves an exclusive shipping contract... I see the course clear as day. Now we just need a Manalayan on board. He's right useless when there's work to be done, but talk's another matter, and he still owes me for keeping his sorry ass out of trouble, so I'll have him put me in touch with a few savvy salesman types on the continent. Prosperity is an interesting thing, because it works pretty well and does a lot of good for a lot of people, as long as greed doesn't get involved. And I know that sounds strange, but it's true. As long as the money's flowing, people tend to be fine. When you start to try and pinch, or squeeze, or push, or stretch, It's something that's been on my mind lately, because there's been a lot of times in real life where prosperity has flowed into or through an area, and then people have come and ruined it. And I've noticed in this very game, especially in the wake of Endwalker, well, in the wake of Shadowbringers, but mostly in the wake of Endwalker, there's been a lot of prosperity flowing through regions, and I really hope someone doesn't come up and screw it all up. Lore, it's me. How goes our little venture thus far? Sicard's eyeing the shipping routes out, is he? All according to plan. But our work has only just begun. I'll keep after my own contacts while you work with Harun. I hear he's not often in the city, but I don't doubt that Mother Mion can sniff him out. Probably Rex. I don't know. I hate to say this, but Dawntrail and War Within both actually have quite a bit of similarities to each other. Both of them are following interesting and a bit of contentious expansions, but both expansions have been, by and large, pretty solid. You know, Endwalker is a definitely net positive expansion, and so is Dragonflight. But in both cases, there's a whole lot of vibe of, now what? So, will War Within stick the landing, and will Dawntrail stick the landing? Now, I have faith in both cases, it's worth noting. But that is the question. And Lord knows I've been wrong before. After all, I thought Starfield was going to be good. My visit Lore Runner. Struck with a sudden craving for eel pie, were you? Or is it information you fancy? Ah, yes, word of our seed seer's comings and goings never fails to reach my ears. I'm told that ever since he returned from his foray to Ilzabard, he's been roaming back and forth between our neighbors' tribes, settlements, and the Lotus Stand. You'll miss him if you make for one or the other, like as not, so I suggest you waylay him at the Blue Badger Gate. Thanks, Bjorn. Toss a coin. I myself have issues with Endwalker. I mean, there is like, what, 20 story negatives I've given this expansion? But, I mean, I've also given 170 story positives, so... I hate FF14. And puppies. Curious. Might I ask why you're loitering at the gates, Lore? And with such an enormous sack? No, don't. They do have a puppy, yes, Avacom, and I can't stand her. I admit you've piqued my interest. To integrate the tradition and ingenuity of guilds throughout yours in such a fashion is no small feat. As it happens, I'm of a mind to do something similar myself, assuming I secure the other Seed Seer's approval. As you are doubtlessly aware, historically, Gridania has placed the peace of the Twelveswood and our covenant with the elementals above all else, to the detriment of our relationship with other peoples. No! Yet, much as we are one with the Shroud, are we not also part of the star entire? The planet entire. Damn it. Our ventures in Garlemald made plain the strength of a world united. This attire you carry demonstrates the same truth. Perhaps you assumed you would need to talk me around to the idea. If so, I apologize for the disappointment. If it's any comfort, I'm nearly as surprised myself. No longer am I content to hear the words of the elementals alone. I wish to know the voices of men. Though our time in Garlemald has shown that my ability to listen is average at best. These horns may mark me as gifted in the Twelveswood, but beyond they inspire neither fear nor awe. I have been mistaken several times for a Zayella, and may as well be one for the difference my status as Seedsteer makes to those who want for succor. Yet 'twas this selfsame insignificance that allowed me for the first time in my life to truly feel a part of a greater whole. I am but one life amongst myriads upon this star. I dare say I should behave accordingly. With luck, my elder sister shall agree. Tell Mistress Tataru her gift is accepted with gratitude, and she ought to hear from us soon. I actually had a comment that I was chewing on there, that I didn't realize he had eyes underneath those bangs, but one of the camera angles actually showed him looking like this. I was like, oh my god, he has eyes! Guess who? Did you speak with Alrune yet? It sounds promising. I'm beginning to understand what makes our Seedseer friend tick. But we can discuss that later. You need to catch Pippin ere his duties take him from Ul'dah once more. I believe he spends much of his time at the Colosseum, so perhaps you should pay a visit to the Gold Court. I'll be awaiting your full report at the boutique. If I could jump in here really quick. What's one of the most common things I complain about in long-standing stories? You know, the stories that go on across years and multiple medias. Now, you're going to say continuity, and that's valid, but that's actually not the answer I'm looking for. It's escalation. One of the biggest and most common problems in fiction is things get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The world's in danger. The system's going to be destroyed. The whole galaxy is going to be destroyed. The entire universe is going to be destroyed. The whole multiverse is going to be destroyed. And that's an actual degree of progression that, for example, the X-Men comics followed. Just to name one example of that. It is disgustingly common. But rather than talk about something you all know, I've had a theory for a while there that part of the reason why so many works of fiction constantly escalate and escalate and escalate and escalate, time itself will be destroyed, is because of the fact, yeah, Doctor Who, is because of the fact that of the same reason that people are complaining that Endwalker is, you know, resetting the board and kind of pulling things down after the Endwalker MSQ. Like, you know, we need to bring things back down a bit after saving the entire galaxy from the essence and of entropy and despair. So, yeah, we need to pull it down a little bit. But I guarantee you, people will complain about it. It's the exact same reason, and this is true, that the early WoW MSQ in Dragonflight was so bad. And I'm going to say it that way. It's because they wanted to hook the idiots. And I'm going to say it that way, too, because the gloves are off here. Metaphorically. They needed to have this big, dramatic fight against a world-ending threat. But you'll notice the MSQ in Dragonflight pretty much immediately got away from that and started being a lot better when they started doing the far more personal story of the Drakthir finding their place in the world, which was the next major story arc, or the Blue Dragons, who are trying to understand and figure out what they were going to do, because the overwhelming majority of Blue Dragons were genocided, remember, so there's not many of them left, and so that's a problem. And yeah, the Black Dragonflight, figuring out and understanding the relationship between the three remaining Black Dragons, and so forth and so on. It's those little, smaller, zoomed-in moments, which was where Dragonflight finally started catching me. And that's awesome. But they had to have that big end-of-the-world threat right up front, you notice? Oh, dude, the Blue Dragonflight storyline was so good. And it's the same thing with Endwalkers. I enjoy the MSQ of Endwalker for what it is. But, like, what are my two favorite scenes in this expansion? The Matsya scene and the Simple Things scene. And pretty much immediately after that is the night where everyone comes over to visit us. Or the dinner, right? With the giant burger in Garaha. Or, yeah, Urianger reaching out to Moonbreeda's parents. You know, just all of those little scenes. Those are the ones that stuck with me. Anyways. Burger. I see. Marshal Tarupin is currently engaged in another meeting, but I shall tell him lore awaits his convenience. My apologies for keeping you waiting. I did not expect you here today. Explain. Tataru is offering quality material, is she? I can hardly say no to that. It fits almost too perfectly with my plans for the flames. I have long striven for mastery of the blade. It required the trials of Ilzabard, however, to truly see Tizona for what it is. The fire that warms the coldest night, the spark that ignites the blaze of hope, and most of all, the unbreakable testament to Father's faith in me. More ally than tool, it is a treasure beyond price. Does every soldier of the Immortal Flames not deserve allies such as this? Arms and armor to remind them of what they fight to protect, to help them stand where they might otherwise fall. Indeed, works made possible only through the ingenuity and dedication of the allies across the star planet might just be the sort of inspiring armaments we need. I anticipate I will be sending along an order for custom equipment ere long. In the meantime, would you mind if I use these samples for a few trials here at the Colosseum? Sure. By the way, to go back to prosperity versus greed, you'll notice that Tataru's first strategy here is to give away free samples to key personnel in the 3 major alliances nearby. Now, you're probably thinking, well, duh, that's a smart business strategy. And then you're getting it, because it is a smart business strategy. But it's the kind of thing that greedy people generally don't do. Greedy people would look at this and try to squeeze out of this, or to make a debt, or to just sell up front, or whatever. And they would do the stupid route to try and gain more money now as opposed to more money later. As a child of Ul'dah, however, not strikes fear into my heart like the prospect of receiving goods for free. I must insist you accept something in return. I have been meaning to gift that necklace to Tataru. Its poor condition aside, she might rather have it than not. I have spoken with Tataru at some length about our pasts, you understand. In many ways, we are quite similar. As you may recall, her family was bankrupted when she was very young, a consequence of her father's business failing. They were forced to put all their wealth towards paying off his debts, and then some. One asset they reluctantly parted with was a necklace treasured by her mother, for which Tataru has long searched to no avail. Strangely enough, I recently discovered jewelry of the same description amidst a store of neglected Colosseum prizes. Assuming it's the same piece, I should like to see it returned to her. It is significantly worse off for having changed hands, though, and only the sapphire centerpiece remains unlost and undamaged. She may appreciate the sentiment themselves, but it's difficult to say. What do you think? I'd say go ahead and give it to her. True enough, though if it's to be a gift, I would prefer at least clean it up a bit. In that case, I had considered asking the Goldsmiths Guild, but you ought to be able to turn the necklace into a piece that Tataru would wear, if not precisely what she remembers. I imagine you'll have the opportunity to pick up gems and other suitable materials on your travels. From there, it's merely a matter of unifying the pieces. Are you willing? I mean, I am a goldsmith, so sure. And I'll have the sapphire removed from its setting and sent to the boutique with all haste. I doubt Tataru would even dare open a private package addressed to you. Best of luck in finding matching materials and in your mercantile endeavors. May the Traders Guild give you fortune fair. Yeah, I'm also a miner. I'm canonically the best miner in the setting. And goldsmith and... Well, let's just move on. Oh god, I can't think of the name of the guy. I was going to share a quote, but I can't think of the name of the guy. There was this one gentleman who was usually credited as being the inventor of the idea of increasing shareholder value. You know, the plague of modern economy. Now, the quote in question is that he himself said it was one of the dumbest ideas in economics, and that it completely ruined business. And of course, I can't find the friggin' quote. I'd have to go look. But something about that really amused me. To go back to our idea of Tataru actually being a legitimately good economist, merchant, or whatever you want to call that. Oops, sorry. I mean, that's true for a lot of people, isn't it? We invented such and such. Oh god, what have I done? Sorry, this is bugging me. I'm just seeing if I can find the name of the damn guy. Find it quickly. Is this him? I think this is him, Jack Welch. The guy who built General Electric. Anyway, sorry. Or Dynamite, US and Corp. You've returned with your bag all the lighter from to give away our samples, I hope. Speaking of which, a parcel from one Pippin Tarupin arrived not bells ago, addressed to you. Could it be our newfound partnerships are already bearing fruit? Mother's necklace? That's a wonderful idea. Allow me to assist. I swear I won't breathe a word of this to Mistress Tataru. Well, okay. I do wonder what parts you'll need. Do you know what style she prefers? If this necklace is to be keepsake, why not focus on that? Apologies, I could not help it over here. That's quite alright, but do please keep your voice down. What was it you were saying? It simply occurred to me that since you were gifted the sapphire so readily, our other partners in this endeavor may wish to offer up something to Mistress Tataru as well. With such gifts, you could turn the necklace into a memento of not just her past and its trials, but her present successes as well. That's perfect. If plans for the boutique proceed apace, we should soon have more than enough tokens for friends from across the seas. What do you think, Lore? Yeah, okay. Waiting for little old me. Mr. Tataru, we were discussing the successful delivery of the samples. Yes. Good to hear. How fares Pippin? Yeah, he's fine. I knew he would come through, though I admit I wasn't expecting to outfit a whole host of immortal flames quite so soon. I suppose it goes to show that even the most hardened warrior can always learn a thing or two. And Sicard and Arun have changed as well, if your tales are any indication. I imagine their personal growth bodes well for that of our network. Thank you for checking up on them. We must sort through our current commissions before deciding who to approach next, but I know I can count on you to be ready when we are. Yeah, the Genesis project over in Star Trek II is honestly a brilliant puzzle piece. It is an extraordinarily useful, beneficial, benevolent tool that will help add to livable worlds and increase the speed of terraforming and just generally lead to greater increased galactic prosperity on an interstellar level. But it's also an extraordinarily devastating weapon that can genocide entire planets in seconds. Science! Oh, okay. This is branching. Why, hello there. Your arrival could not have been more timely. Mistress Tataru's left instructions for another batch of deliveries. She sends her regards, of course. Today she's in Idleshire for business with Rowena. Ha ha! She's sizing up the competition. Tomorrow we'll no doubt find her in some other far-flung corner of the realm. We mustn't be outdone, Laura. Yeah, just ask Undertale, Leander. This time our samples are destined for 2 organizations in Kurthis, an arrangement made possible by none other than Master Sicard. He contacted his dear friend Lord Emilienne de Fortem, who was kind enough to spread word of the boutique to his own contacts across Ishgard. It hardly took any time for the first letter of interest to reach us, and once these samples have been delivered, that interest will be piqued to passion. Or so I have been assured. Lord Emilienne has insisted he will take care of all the particulars and bid me convey the enthusiasm that he looks forward to accompanying you on the deliveries. Now then, regarding that secret mission of ours, A gorgeous sapphire, is it not? It'll make a beautiful necklace once restored, a keepsake of not only Mistress Tataru's mother, but that of her many friends and allies from across the realm. You know, if they ever kill off Tataru, we're gonna riot. You realize that, right? Because they would. They have no problem killing off people in this game. I am confident that someone of your experience has a most discerning eye for mementos. Bring back anything you think will make a worthy addition. And with that, I should leave these samples in your capable hands and eagerly await your safe return. Yeah, the Warrior of Light just stands there like a statue, unmoving, unblinking, for like 3 or 4 months at a time, depending. And then he's just, I'm here, I'm back, what's up? Oh man, Asmira Star. Oof. Ah, Lord, you couldn't have come at a better time. Do you have a moment to talk? My thanks. You see, a foreign merchant approached the boutique with a proposal not long ago. Hancock of the East Aldernon Trading Company. Maybe you've heard of him? Unfortunately, yes. Ah, so you have history. No wonder Mr. Starr declared him unscrupulous and deserving of infinite caution. Yeah, I was about to say, Rex. Though there is risk of dealing with a man of such flexible principles, his knowledge of the Hingan markets would do much to bolster our efforts to make inroads in the Far East. That is why, despite her misgivings, Mistress Tataru seeks to negotiate a partnership, but for some reason or another, he's requested you to be present at their meeting in Kagane. I realize business negotiations are not your forte, but we would be most grateful if you'd indulge his request. Of course, there's also the matter of your secret mission. Once it's been fully restored, this gorgeous sapphire will serve as the centerpiece of the necklace. Yeah, you've already said that word for word. Yeah, okay, cool. Here's a random question for y'all, because I just found myself thinking about this. If you had to pick one of the classes to be your, let's call it your canonical class. Let's say you can't just, you know, do this in lore, right? So you have to pick one class, one job, and that is you, your Warrior of Light. Which would you pick? I found myself asking this because this is probably mine, the Gunbreaker. A tank, of course. Of course I would be a tank. But historically and lore-wise, what the Gunbreaker is kind of fits me, effectively a bodyguard. And of course I happen to love the class aesthetically and in terms of gameplay. If you could pick two... Yeah, Rax being a Dragoon is not what I would call surprising. Hi, Colgrim. See, the thing is, I like quite a few of these classes, and indeed I do have several mains. But at the end of the day, I would have to be a tank. And I'm not a warrior at heart. Not in the way they're defined here. This is a barbarian, let's call it what it is. So, that's just not it, right? Paladin's neat and all, but, like, again, in lore, the Paladin is just... yeah. Like, I like the Paladin more in other games. Hell, I like the Paladin more in Azeroth, in terms of how it functions in their lore. Here, the Paladin is just kind of... yeah, it doesn't work for me, lore-wise, narratively-wise. So that leaves Dark Knight, which... yeah, there's definitely some absolute appeal there, but the very nature of... some of the darker aspects of Dark Knight, while it is appealing, I don't think it quite fits me or mine. So that really only leaves the Gunbreaker. Sorry, my own answer. I like Fife. What would you be? Reaper! Death to all. Sorry. Oh god, this, oh geez, this thing looks terrible. This is an awful scythe. Remind me to fix that. True enough, Blade Jabal. I'm not disparaging your choice, I'm just explaining mine. Because the only other one that actually appeals to me at all personally is Paladin. But Gunbreaker just fits better. I guess I could... Do I have anything on me right now to fix this? Nope. I'd have to actually do the full thing, which I guess I could do. Yeah, there we go. There you go. That's a little bit better. Not perfect, but definitely better. You know my favorite thing about this outfit? The random holes for skin to show through for absolutely no reason. Like, I can't actually wear a full shirt. Even the hat I like. I like the bandaged look. And you know, that's a tricorn, and I love that. But, like, look at that. Oh, man, Holy Dragoon would be awesome! Holy Dragoon tank would be awesome. It's not like you can't have a two-hander tank, right? Anyways, sorry. There we go. Lore, I've been meaning to speak with you. Mr. Tutar mentioned the most astonishing thing. Is it true you aided in the liberation of Wurlit? Yeah. And, like, 1,000 other places. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit. Okay, bonus question. So we talk about a Holy Dragoon, right? If you could take two classes in FF14 and merge them into a true amalgam of both, what two would you pick? I see, so you fought the weapons of the 7th Legion alongside none other than the Black Wolf himself. Well, then that makes you the perfect candidate for our next job. You see, we're planning to send our latest samples of military equipment to Wurlit's interim government, and since Gaius Belsar oversees such matters, who better than his brother-in-arms to pitch our wares? I like Paladin and Red Mage. That's a good one. Word has it that Wurlit forces are in the process of choosing a supplier to outfit their troops, so we're keen to throw our hat into the ring. Would you be willing to assist us? Monk and White Mage. That's pretty much straight up just a Mistweaver. I'm down, by the way. Samurai and Dark Knight. Dark Knight and Red Mage. Wonderful. I can't thank you enough. If my sources are correct, you should be able to find Gaius in Turncliffe. And, of course, find things for the necklace. Unfortunately, Mistweaver isn't a true melee healer anymore, but it was briefly. And it was awesome. It was literally you punch to heal. Like straight up. You played a monk. And you would punch things to heal, and it was awesome. They also had a really awesome discipline spec in that exact same expansion. And they killed that too. Idiots. Let's do Ishgard first. Do these in order. Kinda, yeah, Dream Whisperer. Oh god. That would depower us, Von Falkenstein. Although the last thing we need is some borrowed power in FF14. Even WoW has walked away from that. Finally. Didn't need those. Lore, old boy, 'tis good to see a rosy glow in your cheeks considering the dreadful business with the imminent destruction of mankind and the end of times and whatnot. Hang on, hold still. I'm gonna shove my gunblade down your throat really quick. But yeah, no, I think, in all honesty, there's two big things that ruined borrowed power in WoW. And by ruined, I mean made them realize it was a bad idea. The first is the obvious, what Rax said. Borrowed power is a terrible idea. The playground, we talked about this extensively during our previous run, the playground is a much better idea, and I noticed they've been doing the playground in Dragonflight, so they apparently were listening to me on that. But borrowed power just does not work. You'll notice, rather than getting rid of Dragonflight, they have expanded it to everywhere. Dragonflying, I mean. So you can already see that they're shifting away from the borrowed power concept by already in patches expanding the new mechanics and the new stuff to the rest of the world. So yay. But I think the second reason is actually very, very simple. It's the fact that BFA and Shadowlands really didn't go over super well under the hood, or in terms of critical reception, or in terms of financial reception. Everybody knows that BFA and Shadowlands were kind of bombs. And I think that, at least on some level, they have recognized that the borrowed power thing was part of that. Something that I will be giving a fairly large amount of negatives to when it comes to BFA is they had two separate borrowed powers in BFA, one of which only showed up in the very last patch. I've complained about this before. First of all, we had the Azurite gear, which sucked to begin with, but also then went away. And then they had the Madness gear, which was awesome and extremely well designed and extremely cool and innovative and a fun risk-reward system, which then went away. Like, I legitimately think they could and should have kept the Madness gear as like a thing going forwards, but no, it's gone. I'm not even going to talk about the fact that Shadowlands added Covenants, which had very, very cool and interesting abilities, which were gone. And I have to say that way because this is actually one of the smarter things they did. Did you notice they baked a lot of the artifact abilities from Legion and the Covenant powers from Shadowlands into talent points in the new talent system? Bringing those abilities back as talents was probably the right move there. So thank God for that, right? Thank God for something. Anyways. Lore, old boy, 'tis good. Oh, right, I already talked about that. Whoops. Yeah, no kidding, Asmiristar. The Paladin Bell is such a wonderful ability. It's so seemingly simple. You just smash a bell down, and then you throw out your shield at every nearby enemy. But you don't understand how awesome that is until you start using it, especially in a group. Like, imagine the Captain America shield, except you're throwing out like 10 of them at once, and all of them are bouncing. Who better to distribute exquisite arms and accoutrements than a bona fide hero such as yourself? I have two parties with simply ravenous interest in your products, dear chap. The first of whom so happens to be rather exquisite herself, my dearest Lady Lan... Oh my goodness. Be so good as to precede me to the Rose House. I shall be along promptly, of course, just as soon as I'm coiffed and powdered. There ain't enough coifs and powder in the world, buddy. Yeah, one of the abilities they brought back, which I am very, very happy that they did in that manner, is the closer for Demon Hunters. I don't actually remember what it's called. It's the one they borrowed from Illidan's ability over in Heroes of the Storm. Now, if you don't understand the significance of this ability, so a lot of classes have closers, right? You know, you go, whoosh. Hell, the class I'm playing right now has a closer. It's right there, Rough Divide. But the thing is, most closers have a range of 20 yards, some of the 30 yards. So, you know, about this distance to that person right in front of me, right? The Demon Hunter one has a range closer to this. And it's exactly as awesome as it sounds. It is actually the single longest range spell in the entire game. And it really is just like a freaking train right into the target. It's great. Sorry. Just, it's wonderfully visceral. And it's very, very useful. And of course, it ties in to the overall Demon Hunter class fantasy, which is mobility. Demon Hunters are all about mobility. Pretty much nothing can surpass a Demon Hunter in terms of simply being able to maneuver through a battlefield. Come on, go. Oh, right, I'm using the button. I'm dumb. Yeah, no kidding, right? In lore, Demon Hunters are probably the single strongest class, yes. There's actually quite a bit of lore that backs that up. Don't mistake me, every main character in WoW, in lore, is a powerhouse. But Demon Hunters are ridiculous. Well, see, here's the interesting thing. Demon Hunters are also kind of doomed. Much of their power comes from literally having a demon bound inside of their soul. And long term, that's bad. Demon Hunters are pretty much going to eventually either die or be consumed by their own demon. There's not really a happy ending for them. And yeah, this kind of ties into Warlocks. Having said that, Warlocks at least have the ability to walk away from Fel Magic if they choose to. By the way, Warlocks would be the number 2 slot. Well, Matt Lord, 'tis good to see you hale and whole. Thank you for personally making the trip. I know your obligations are many. Truth be told, your arrival could scarce have had better timing. While our erstwhile troubled relations with the Vanu improved by the day, we have been forced to reconsider our current munitions due to recent incidents of... I have come, my darling Blossom. Behold, Amelain the Executioner here to smite your foes with ruthless order. Oh my God, no. Actually, yes, Reximus. Warlocks have several abilities that burn health instead of mana. And both Demon Hunters and Warlocks rely on enemies to power some of their abilities. What I mean by that is, in lore, they're ripping souls out of their targets in order to then cast stuff, but that's also a gameplay mechanic. Warlocks get soul shards, which is I don't know the frickin' FF14 equivalent. You can hold up to 4 at a time, and you spend those on abilities. And Demon Hunters shard off chunks of souls as they go, and they use those to use abilities and to heal. Well, I strike a rather smashing silhouette, do I not? Why, Saccard could not have found a better man to gift these samples to. Such splendid armor could be put to better use than fashion, Lord Amali. Could I not prevail upon your better senses to relinquish that gear to those who might appreciate its practicality? Far be it for me to die in request of yours, my lady. Only I must confess I may have slightly exaggerated Saccard's generosity in the matter of gifting these. Ah, you mean to say you borrowed them, no doubt without his knowledge or consent. And why should I have expected otherwise? Friends may forgive, but it bears repeating that your clients deserve at least a modicum of professionalism. You do have other clients, don't you? Of course I have, and no little celebrity at that. You remember the Red Bills, of course? Actually, yeah. But in case you didn't remember them, here they are. Yes, I did this chain. Thank you. And no, you are absolutely right, Mr. Red. Fighting a Demon Hunter in lore is something you probably shouldn't do unless you're prepared to take possibly permanent damage. Now, it's worth noting souls are not only mutable, but also mendable in the Warcraft setting. So you could hypothetically recover from that. But... I was just wondering that, Rex. The Sky Pirates, that an experienced adventurer should know them hardly surprises me, but how does a privileged son of House Fortem come to make their direct acquaintance? It was a happy coincidence of ale and circumstance, I assure you. As lore can attest, an unbiased range of social contacts is an essential arsenal of not just adventurers, but any gentleman of consequence. I hate you. Sky pirates are precisely the problem I was speaking of, Lore, before we were interrupted. Recently, self-proclaimed sky pirates have been marauding trade vessels with troubling audacity. Even the Sky Steel manufacturer has reported stolen property at the hands of these ruffians. Troubling news indeed, though I cannot imagine fellows as amicable as our Red Bills be responsible. Still, if we would hear aught of it, I shall send word directly. Now then, Lore, off we trot to the infamous Perrock. I've been told to seek out a certain red standard upon Coldwind. Ah, how the pulse quickens. Yeah, huh? Ooh, pizza. Yeah, pizza and Cokes. Pretty standard offering of gift. I'm pleased you understand the old ways, Bergman. As a true lady of refinement should. Oh wow, it just warped us. It's doing a lot of this warping around thing, and I'm fully in favor of it. One really quick aside, because I just wanted to comment on this real quick. You know, one of the things I like about Demon Hunters in WoW? If you remember, Illidan, all the way back in Warcraft 3, had Immolate, and he had Mana Burn, and then he had Evasion, which was a passive ability that allowed him to be an evasive tank. The reason Demon Hunters in WoW are so all about mobility, the reason they can maneuver and dash and backflip and glide and double jump and lunge and shift and maneuver, and I think that's all of them. I think that's all the stuff they can do. All of that has to do with going back to that idea of evasion. And it's just funny how they took one passive ability for one hero in an RTS and turned that into a whole class. Anyways. Hi. Well, if you ain't the very picture of health, Lore, saving the planet from complete annihilation didn't tax you over much then. Nope. Let me guess, it was not compared to all the bowing and scraping required of the mercantile genteel. Don't tell me this dandy is what wooed you from the life with sweet nothings of financial comfort. Lefford, my man! You know as well as I the only one wooing Lore into anything is yourself. Don't think your interest in our mutual friend has escaped my notice. Your aim all along was less about armaments than it was an audience with Lore, was it not? Not bad for a dandy. Yeah, I had my sights set on touching a reunion between Lore and myself, but that's not to say I won't be needing those samples. See, I have a job that could benefit from both your keen sense and those pieces you brought me. So long as they're half the quality of what Amelia was showing off in the alehouses, anyways. I can count on your participation, yes? You'll be duly compensated, of course. Just name your price. Okay, summon one primal for me to kill, and I'll do it for you. Parts of a necklace? For Taru herself, eh? I'd have preferred something you might make use of. What's your base? I don't actually have a house in-game, so... God, where do we live canonically in this game? Or be it for me to dictate what a man does with his booty. If that's what you recompense, I'll see what I can do. Now that we have you on board, allow me to elaborate. It seems another band of petty thieves have been masquerading as sky pirates and harrying honest traders of late. So you've heard, then. These so-called monstrous cockatoos don't exactly strike fear into the heart of man, but they're being a right nuisance, and now they've gone and made things personal. You know, that's a good point. We literally own an island, don't we? And, yeah, House Fortemps Manor. I didn't even think about that. You remember the Remay, don't you? The Captain's old airship? Well, after what happened in Dune Skaith, we've been commissioning the finest airship parts from across the realm for the construction of her successor. Only to have these cockapert nincompoops pillage the very Sky Steel manufacturing vessel that was carrying our precious cargo. The nerve of some people, huh? Makes my mouth water. Of course, once the cockatoos realized whose property they pilfered, they flew into a panic and holed up in Idleshire after stashing the goods somewhere. And this is where you and your samples come in. We want you to take Lefford and, before you spill the rest, let's make sure our friend is still for a bit of fouling. How about it then? Okay. I knew I was right to call you. Those downy ducklings won't know what plucked them. Hi, kid. By the by, would you happen to have terrible objection if I informed the Rose Knights of your design upon these charlatans? The Knights are affiliated with House Hyanate, you see, and thus have particular interest in recovering the contents of that sky steel vessel. I know my darling, the most capable Lady Laniette, simply will not rest until she has brought these scoundrels to justice. Well, I can't say it's an alliance I've ever considered, but as long as I get the cockatoo I'm due, our knights most thorny are welcome to catch and cage as they see fit. Splendid, Lady Laniette. Laniette? God, I don't know. Laniette attached to? Lady Crushface will be glad to hear of it. Overjoyed, even. Yes, she may even simply be unable to contain her unbounded delight. I hate this guy so much. Not awaiting us in Idleshire, but danger and subterfuge. But such is more tempting to our ilk than lovely knights, huh? Let's be off. I'll explain the rest of our gamut once we're there. Let's turn this into a question. Where does your Warrior of Light canonically sleep? Where do they lay their head to rest? Where do you call home? I will also accept non as an answer, like as in you don't have a home. Did he just warp me to frickin' Idleshire? God, I'm really on board with this new quest design. I mean, oh, sunrise. Lord knows I am regularly banging the twins' mother. But for obvious reasons, I can't sleep there, so that's not where I sleep. Besides, there's not a lot of sleep happening anyways. Who's the dandy now, you ask? I reckon my reputation precedes me in these parts, and that legendary red-billed Lefford isn't known for togs like these. Though I could get used to this. Comfortable, practical, sense of style to boot. Yeah, by the way, I recognize that outfit. I'm pretty sure it's one of the machinist outfits that I have. Ain't often you find a holy triad in battle gear. Quite the line you're touting. Which brings us to your role in my master plan. While it ain't easy laying low in a motley place like Idleshire, these cock-a-hoop cowards have been managing it well enough. So to lure them out, we're going to spread savory rumors of the black market merchant looking to fence fine contraband for even finer coin. That's you. Just strike up a chat with any adventurers or peddlers that seem to like to share hearsay. I'll be playing your handsome bodyguard, so rest assured I've got your back, master. I've taken liberty of preparing your disguise. It isn't as flattering as Lefford's, but you should fit the part nicely in this. Oh my god, I look terrible! I look so terrible! Oh my god, I'm hideous. I'm an Uldan merchant from ARR. So, regardless of Metzen being back, I had full plans to play the next expansion, Mr. Floyd Pinkerton. But it's not because I'm addicted to WoW or that I am willing to give WoW a chance, because after all, I am more than willing to slick mud at any game when it gets good, bad, or in between. The specific reason is because Dragonflight has kind of been awesome, and as a result, it has earned enough of a trust in me to try one more expansion. What's interesting is I had to be dragged into Dragonflight, if you remember. Shadowlands, and BFA and Shadowlands back-to-back really pushed me away from that game. Contrabandists. I know of some sky pirates new to town, and just the other day I overheard them discussing their latest windfall. Ah, yes, just the sort of enterprising folk we're looking for. You think you can help us pin them down? I'll do what I can. I'm no stranger to sky pirates, so I'll ask around. Thank you. I know one of them is Realm from Killorn. And I know one of them is something else. That's about all I know. See, I can't say that Dragonflight's story sucks, because there's way too much good story in Dragonflight for me to say that. Have you done the final epilogue quests after Emildrasil, for example, Mr. Red? Because, holy crap. Pretty much the entire Dream patch has been absolutely bonkers good, by the way. The Dream itself is an incredible zone. And has some great quests and great quest chain and great story and great presentation and just, oh my god. And the Emildrasil raid is awesome. Emildrasil has one of my favorite boss fights in the entire expansion, and that's not a joke. It's the second to last one, by the way. The Nameless Druid. Which is funny, it's just some rando flame druid, but his fight is so good. Oh my god, it's such a cool fight. A merchant yourself, are you? Perhaps I'm overstepping, but consider this friendly advice. Seek out the sky pirates dressed in such stereotypical garb as akin to dangling a side of your neck reading, "Purge my purse." Oh, the righteous red bills may pity you, but few else. Righteous ain't ever been to my liking, mate. I just can't abide them reprobates what don't honor the creed of sky pirating. Or, so you might imagine, a red pill might say, huh? Not to say a matter of ours. Anyhow, should you find someone looking to offload a dubiously obtained merchandise, send them our way, will you? If you insist, but don't say I didn't warn you. Dragonflight is a very good time to hop back into WoW. So I know we all say things like, oh, such and such doesn't exist. And we say that kind of jokingly and kind of memingly because, haha, it sucks. But let me be very, very clear about this. If you go from Legion straight to Dragonflight, you miss almost nothing. Now, Dragonflight does actually acknowledge several story beats from both BFA and Shadowlands. But that's it. Narratively, thematically, in terms of pacing and presentation, Legion goes directly into Dragonflight, and if you just eject the other two in between, the overall arc does work a lot better. Put simply, if I was ever to continue the Lorecraft series, I'm most likely going to restart it in Dragonflight and just completely skip BFA and Shadowlands. Yeah, Anduin went through some stuff. He's currently suffering from post-traumatic stress. And they've been doing a pretty good job of showcasing it, too, honestly. They weren't fully retconned because, again, they are both acknowledged within the confines of Dragonflight, but they don't really matter. Not really. Nobody cares about the Jailer. Nobody cares about Sylvanas. There are a couple of specific events that matter, like what happened with Elune and what happened with Tyrande. Both of those kind of come up quite a bit. But Gabi eye catches such Sky Stealers. Sky Stealers come to claim busy deal at Craftforge, but bring no trade goods for Jingleshine. Great laugh joke for Gabi merchants. Sky Stealers leave with Grumpface. Gabi and I understand why Uplanders wish to trade tongue flaps with Grumpface Sky Stealers, but I happen to hand lend for more laugh jokes. Much obliged. If all goes to plan, we'll have you laugh joking over their sorry hides for summers to come. Great happiness. For goodly Uplanders, Gabi shares one more laugh joke. Sky Stealer's whine cry about calling strong friends as they shame run. Friend may be strong, but Sky Stealer brain cases are still airy light. Yeah, no, Ardenweald has several relevances to Dragonflight. Go figure. To be clear, by the way, I'm not trying to sell anybody on Dragonflight. I'm just giving my honest and professional opinion on the matter as I see it. If you want to see if WoW is for you, Dragonflight is a good spot to try that. Literally Astamine. Which, honestly, I wish ARR was skippable. So are we the talk of the town yet? As I can tell, you're strong contenders. Maybe second only to rumors about a mysterious intimidator who's cast a lot with the cockatoos. Only natural those sniveling whelps hired a browbeater, but what thick head willingly courts the rancor of Red-Bill Lifford? Well, I suppose a few names come to mind, but no matter. Our plan proceeds as discussed. Let's take to the streets and wait for our clients to come crawling, shall we? The drawing's still there. Oh, there. You the traitor looking to Schaefer with the monstrous cockatoos? Schaefer? With scrags like you? Fury end me. I don't know where to laugh or cry. That voice. Red-Bill Lifford. As you live and breathe. Not for long, though, if you don't hand over what you and your dicky birds stole. Bluster all you like, Red-Bill, but you ain't getting the better of us this time. We've treated with a sky pirate that'll crush you to pumice. And there you were thinking this would be ever so simple, were you not, my dear Lefford? Really? Yeah, parts of Stormblood really dragged. I'm ignoring the fact that I literally quit the game during Stormblood. That was supposed to be my permanent quit the game. Like, that was the final straw for me, was Stormblood. Not in the slightest. I was thinking surely Rodlia and her talent would never sink so low as to become lackeys to a lackey, but here you are. I might even start to pity you. And that is where you consistently underestimate me, Red-Bill. I would stop at nothing to realize my desires. Or were the sweet memories we made together in Dune Skaith not enough to convince you of that? But I might, suppose, be willing to overlook your stubborn indifference and return the stolen airship parts you so desperately seek if you would but call me your captain. Or, counteroffer, I'll kill every single one of your crew, and you are now the captain of an empty ship. Completing that airship means more to me than you'll ever understand. I ain't leaving here without my stolen goods. If they're worth recovering, that is. You there, Cockalorum. You didn't leave that plunder and wind-aspected territory, did you? Of course you did. Head's as empty as a tosspot's tankard. Those airship parts are embedded with highly calibrated corrupted crystals. Put them in contact with any wind sprites, and they're no better than glorified scrap. Wait a minute, he said contact, didn't he? How many wind sprites go contacting rock formations on Providence? It'll be fine. Udo, you've got hands on our airship yet? Take her to Providence and go pick up the stolen goods. Some genius hid them under a rock. You were bluffing? Obviously. Don't make me doubt your intelligence. What airship needs parts that can't handle a little wind? Doubt what you'd like. I hardly need a blood airship to beat you into submission. Okay, I'll kill all of you. Let me slip into something more comfortable. Am I literally taking off my clothing in front of everybody? Like, I could just snap my fingers and change outfits canonically. Lore? Yeah, hi. Did you say lore? As in the lore runner? When is he a friend of the Red Bills? See if I'm not the only one whose name is worth something in this part. I'm still prettier, though. Jury's out. Well then, sweet cockatoos, let's get about cutting you up into cocka 3s and 4s. Red Bill by himself is one thing, lore something else. Ain't for nothing for it, lads. They just straight up run. They just straight run. Oh, Rodley. I reckon this is more than a little diversion to you, but surely you didn't think I would fold to such a weak hand. All the more pity that you assumed those airship parts were the only pieces of value taken from me and mine. But no matter. It's time to make your allegiances clear. If you and your talents intend to continue this farce, we'll have it out here and now. Well... It seems I misjudged my prospects. I had thought those simpletons might amount to more than sniveling turntails, but I have neither loyalty nor affection for a useless cockatoo. I suppose I'll have to content myself with this reunion in itself, but you will need more than clever buffs to evade me next time. Of that you may be certain. I didn't even get to kill anybody. Mr. Floyd Pickerton asked a question. Do I think the old Warcraft 3 theme edgelord stuff... Do I miss the old Warcraft 3 theme edgelord stuff? Or do I think the Kitty story expansion criticism is unjust? First of all, I've never even heard of such a criticism. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. Anybody who thinks Dragonflight is a Kitty expansion is not paying attention to the story. Second of all, no, I don't miss the edgelord stuff that most earlier Blizzard stuff has. I much prefer the more modern edgelord stuff they have, which usually tends to have a bit of a better presentation and storytelling beat. Those are some fine samples without question, but nothing beats wearing my own rags again. Go ahead to the Parrock and wait for us in my chambers. We'll be along once we've spoken with our knights most thorny. Ugh. It's just ridiculous, this Mirror-Star. Just... Yeah, we were talking about this just a bit ago with Andor, weren't we, Rex? Oh, whoop, wrong one. Yeah, Legion was arguably edgelord, but Legion was also good. Dragonflight has been a little bit more quiet. Existentialism, identity, trauma. Big theme of Dragonflight is trauma. And how we need more complex answers to more complex problems. Stuff like that. One of the quest chains in Dragonflight is all about trying to understand that we have been keeping a servitor race under yoke for years without actually realizing it. And trying to make up for that. Think about that for a second. But no. Kitty expansion. Yeah, the Draconids, that is correct. Oh, hi, Giga. I guess I'll say it out loud. Hell, that's right up there with saying that Endwalker is a Kitty expansion. Well, the Endwalker PatchCon is Kitty expansion. Because it's no longer about the end of the world, death, doom, despair stuff. And for pretty much the exact same nonsensical reason. This guy has too much gold. Oh man, I know the one you're talking about is Mirror-Star. Yeah, Chandra's got a lot of good character time in Dragonflight. Finally. Top 3 SNES games? FF6, Chrono Trigger, and Mega Man X1. Utada says all the stolen property is accounted for and finishing touches on our airship proceed apace. According to the Rose Knights, the Cockatoos will be shipped off to the Diadem, where they can enjoy volunteering their services for the betterment of mankind. Speaking of which, Captain, what is to become of the miscellanea recovered from the Cockatoo's hoard? I'm sure House Hayanate will lay claim to the possessions, but as for the appurtenances of unknown origin... Or not, Puss. I don't pocket any jigabob I find in some petty foister. We'll track down the rightful places soon enough if my prediction holds. Laura, is that you? Hello, Tataru. It is, and you look quite surprised, as I feel, to think we'd meet here amongst the clouds and sky pirates. I was just finishing up my affairs in Idleshire when who should come asking to me but Red Bill Lefford. Quite the thrilling twist in my day, I'll have you know. How did Emmeline put it? She's got fingers in more pies than a high street baker. When I got wind she was in Idleshire, I felt like snubbing fate not to enlist her expertise. Well, I'm exceedingly glad you did, for I have returned triumphant. Allow me to present the famous traveling portraitist, Duramer. Portraitist? Oh, of course. Among the recovered items were a number of singularly beautiful paintings. Oh, I'm relieved to hear it. When I learned which vessel had fallen prey to the sky pirates, I thought those pieces would be lost forever. So you're yet another victim of the monstrous cockatoos. Still, a personal summons to the Perrock seemed like the sort of social nicety which the captain is normally intolerant. I believe my presence here may have yet another purpose entirely. You see, Lefford and I are old acquaintances. He commissioned me to paint that portrait, in fact. My beautiful daughter, Remy. She looks perfectly at home here. Beautiful daughter? Aye, Duramer is father to Lady Remy, the gentlewoman who cared for Lefford as a lad. He abdicated all family affairs to his son when he became a practicing artist, but he's still a lord in lineage. You mean to say that the renowned portraitist Duramer is not only your grandfather, but a former lord? You must forgive my blithe introductions from earlier. Not to forgive, Mr. Totaro. Quite the contrary, I'm indebted to you for tracking him down so quickly. Thanks to you, this can happen just as I hoped it might. Construction's about finished on our new airship, and I wanted you to be here when I christened her. The Ramil will fly again. My dear boy, celebrating your mother's life with you continues to be my great honor. When you hung her portrait here, and when you named your first ship, I could see the vestiges of her love shining in your countenance, then, just as now. I only hope you continue to realize her greatest wish for you, to live as free and unfettered as the sky itself. I know she will be very proud. A bit like herding curls, isn't it? Getting us adventure types all in one room. But well worth the effort, I'd say. Moments like these are meant to be shared. Right! I believe we've got a new airship to fly, and the open sky awaits. This is, I think, the third now epilogue chain we've done in Endwalker. Like, whatever the specifics, this is an epilogue chain. This is wrapping up threads from across the game. More tying up things before we get to the next expansion. Now this is an airship. With how she handles, I could fly off the edge of existence and back without so much as a hiccup. Which I hear on good authority, or whatever authority I'm on, that you have literally done. Yeah, maybe, kind of. I reckon I've never seen such equal parts awed and envious, though I assume the invitation was simply lost by post-mogul. Yeah, I didn't invite you to the end of reality, sorry. In all candor, I'm certain there's some skies only meant for your eyes. Escapades is surpassing even my wildest imaginings. How can we hear you? So chart the ends of eternity and horizons filled with peril. Just don't think you've seen the last of what wonders these heavens hold. I'll come find you again before long, Lauren, and I'll bring everything I always promised. That thrilling, heady rush of high adventure. And I'll bring the thing I've always promised. You know, Giga's got a good point. This isn't voice acted, so canonically they're all just reading the text. Though farewell may be bitter sorrow, know that it is but fodder for reunions most gay. No need to get mawkish, Furball. It ain't as if Lore's dropping off the face of the planet. Not permanently, anyhow. We'll meet again soon enough, though Kate Sith is likely to mope as a damp kitten until we do. God, those eyes. Those eyes! I expect these parts will be free of half-baked brigands for the time yet, but should you ever find yourself in need of a red bill, don't hesitate to call. Thank you. 'Tis no small comfort knowing our ships may distribute their wares in safety. As for you, Lore, we'll be in touch, and we will never see him again. And then the engine sputters and they fall to their death. Well, that was invigorating. While I'd love nothing more than to catch our collective breath over a cup of tea, business calls me to Ishgard. No rest for the enterprising and the talented, shall we, Durame? Might I persuade you to accompany us? I would very much like to hear of your adventures. Painting subjects I find personally inspiring is a particular credo of mine, and I dare say you have brushed shoulders with more than a few individuals of note. Yeah. Thank you for indulging an old man's eccentricities. Now then, perhaps you could begin with the adventures you shared with Lefford and his crewmates. Yeah, sure. So there was this demon ship, right? Also, I'm personal friends with like 5 heads of state and like 2 presumed heads of state. And the moon. Whatever he is, he's a man of his word. I'm mysterious, but I think Lever did mention something along when he asked me to track down Duramare. Well, I would make quite the sight lugging this around, so could you hold on to it? I trust you not to run off with my share of the reward. A gift from the notorious Redbills. You know, they're a rather nice sort of sky pirate, don't you think? Yes, I've played FF12, thank you. As we talked about during the FF12 review, the words sky pirate just mean adventurer in practical application. And again, it's just instantly teleporting us here. That's actually kind of cool. A bright and energetic young lady is your employer. I hope shepherding me back to Ishgard did not delay her business over long. The tales you shared on the journey here were beyond everything I could have anticipated. Never have I heard such inspiring episodes of daring do. Though I may not know them personally, I find myself fascinated by the individuals you described. The comrades and acquaintances of your journeys. I believe I shall remain in the capital to paint for a time. Should you desire a portrait, I would happily part with it for the cost of its supplies. Find me here. We can make arrangements. Unfortunately, no, Dream Whisperer. That would take some manual quest alteration, but they could do it, and it would be awesome if they did. But no. So, in answer to the question I asked earlier, I've actually been chewing on this for a bit, and I think... one moment. Yeah. I think this is probably my canonical home in FF14 for my character. Ignoring the obvious, relation to my adopted father and essentially my adopted family, or adoptive family, I should say. I'm quite fond of the cold, and I'm quite fond of the architecture. I'm pretty sure I have more money than the Lord does at this point, PM Triox. And yeah, you get the point of the question, Giga. I was curious where everyone chose canonically, because obviously the game doesn't really support this idea, but canonically where your character calls home. I agree with that as Miristar. Absolutely. You know, I like a lot of the Stormblood music a lot, but I hate this song. I can't even really put a picture on it. It's just, I do not like this song. I mean, yeah, it might be the pipes. Woodwinds can work for me, but I'm very, very picky with them. I agree with the night version. It's a better version of this. And yeah, the dungeon variant is awesome. I mean, the Central Stormblood theme is great. So I'm going to actually cut off a little bit early. I'm going to be very honest with you about why. I'm going to lay down. I'm exhausted. I've been exhausted, and FF14 streams usually involve me working late, and I absolutely have been doing so. I'm going to go lay down. I will see you guys after the lunch break.